I really want to do this stupid react that I've wanted to do for the last 2 weeks and I haven't had time. So I'm gonna do the react now. Joshua Schmidt plus. This has been up forever. If we want to keep talking about it on the next stream on Monday, we can keep talking about it. But I think for now, I really want to get this react over with because I want to watch the video as well. And I don't pre-watch. I'm trying to watch it with you guys. I swear I didn't watch it. It had to have autoplayed. It had to have autoplayed. I didn't pre-watch. I swear. We can watch that react another time. I want to do this. And it's too bad. You're putting up with it. And then we also need to make sure that you guys all like and subscribe to both Josh and the original creator of the video. The original video by the Law YGO. Make sure you are subbed to this video, sub to the creator as well. You sub to both of them, like both the videos, and we'll leave this running in the background so they get their view time as well. Yeah, so we're gonna look at the 2015 react, 2015 recap today. We're gonna react to Josh's react. We keep doing this, the Reactception, if you will. So we get to hear Josh's opinions as well, and through 2015. 2015 was the year I got my first top. I loved a lot of 2015. I loved Burning Abyss, Shadal's, Nekroz, a lot of it. So I had a good time, and yeah, I am looking forward to seeing what our two creators here, the Law and Josh, have to say about the format. And I will start being really knowledgeable from this point on out in recaps because it's when I really got more and more into the game. But anyways, let's hear what they have to say.
Okay, where did we end off with 2014? Because it's been a while. End of 2014 would be.
End of 2014 would be, so next challenge has come out. Cleefort is now legal, and BA has Fire Lake.
Is Shadal and BA?
When we last left off, the game had just seen its most impactful shakeup ever. With the release of Duelist Alliance and the start of the Arc 5 era, Shadal and Burning Abyss would overnight shift what the expectation was for a meta archetype to be able to achieve using its in-archetype pieces, providing both power and recursion between their bosses and power play cards. Cleefort was also recently introduced near the end of 2014.
Okay, this is like my most hated deck of all time. I've been pretty vocal about this. Fuck this deck. Actually, fuck this deck. They play triple skill drain, triple emptiness. Absolutely toxic.
Provide the first meta Pendulum strategy, utilizing the mechanic to provide tribute fodder for their bosses, with other new archetypes like Teller Knight just outside of the meta.
Teller Knight was terrible. People played it because it was
easy. Shift in the game's design as a whole. With that said,
okay, I know where we are. We have Shadal, BA, Cleefort, kind of like the stun deck of the format, but pretty strong. Teller Knight, kind of like the stun deck of the format, but bad. That's what we have.
There would be some clear outliers in power with this shift in design, and more specifically, a single card that made certain matchups completely unbalanced. So a banlist update would be put in place right after the start of the year on January 1st. And while there would only be a couple of hits, the banlist would absolutely be filled with cards returning to the game for the first time in years. Newly banned would be Super Polymerization, as the card being completely unrespondable was proving to be a serious problem in the case of Shadal specifically, as it could effectively delete any boss monster from the field in archetype.
You want me to put my cam on Josh's chat? Well, then we can't read Josh's chat, or you guys can't see his chat. We'll have both of our chats going at the same time. That's fine. Super Poly got banned. Snatch Steal went to 1. I don't see, like, the biggest thing was Snatch Steal. It's 1. That card was too good at the time. I mean, it wasn't like crazy, but it was definitely really good.
Side deck card going into the Shadal matchup. Newly limited were Artifact Moral Talk, being the power play of the Artifact engine, Dark Strike Fighter, returning from the ban section.
It was errata, this was terrible.
Hard once per turn errata, cratering its power level, but still giving it a place in certain strategies. And Snatch Steal, which set off every alarm in the community with its return.
I forgot about this. That was so nuts. Doesn't this go back to ban, like one banlist later?
Yeah, I literally got banned immediately.
Permanent Monster Steal was a massive power swing, especially for the time period, and as such would immediately move from here to be a staple card in literally every deck of the format, which we'll see very soon. Newly semi-limited, and all returning from 1, were Honest, Yugioh Guardian, and Dark Hole, all seeing decreased usage in the meta, with Dark Hole
Dark Hole
initially, but being disregarded due to the graveyard triggers of almost every meta deck. Lastly, unlimited were Gale the Whirlwind, Abyss Gun, Reborn Tengu, Reasoning, and Transmigration Prophecy.
None of these mattered. Reasoning mattered a little bit, I guess.
Though, looking back at it, I do feel like I'm trying to imagine the format, right? Shadal, BA, Cleefort, Teller Knight, like, I can't really blame them for thinking Snatch Steal was okay.
Snatch Steal was good in BA mirrors and Shadal
like
mirrors, though.
Be, you know?
But yeah, I mean, Clee probably as well.
I'm thinking of it right now, and I'm like, why was Snatch Steal that much of a problem?
To varying degrees being power crept by the modern metagame, though some here would find new homes very soon. All in all, this list only had 2 hits, both seemingly targeted at Shadal, which was interesting as by recent results, Burning Abyss had already overtaken Shadal's top deck position, which would lead most players to closely watch the next couple.
We are in a phase right now where early 2015 Josh was giga coping on Shadals, right? I won my first YCS in 2014 with Shadals. I loved Shadals. I coped the entire format that Shadal was better than
maybe this is why he hates BA, because he was coping too much in Shadal. He didn't want to admit that he was wrong and BA was a better deck.
All the other decks, which in hindsight probably wasn't true, but I played Shadal all the way through this format.
of releases to see if Burning Abyss would run away with the format or if a new threat would give them a true challenge.
So Secrets of Eternity, yeah, there's some good cards here.
Secrets of Eternity.
I hate
Release
that
date,
card.
January 16th, 2015. Set type, core set. Major strategies, Infernoid, Clifford, Burning Abyss. Impact, minor buffs and a preview of what's to come. Secrets of Eternity would be the first set of 2015, and though many of its pieces
they printed a Nekroz card in here. They had the wrong text, but they just said it was fine anyways. And Nekroz wasn't even out yet. Nekroz came out like a month later. It was so troll. Yeah, this set wasn't a big deal though. Farfa was big. I guess people played the ritual spell Good and Evil and Burning Abyss because of Kagna. And yeah, there was the Clifford cards, Monolith and Stealth. The Tellarknight Diamond was solid, but yeah.
A lot of what was introduced here would take some time to actually see major success. The new archetype in question here was Infernoid, a series of fire fiend monsters.
Oh yeah, this as well. No one cared about this in release. Infernoid would, sorry, Kagna would send a Good and Evil from Nectar Grave.
With the level 4 and lowers taking 1, the 5 through 8s taking 2, and the 9 and ups taking 3. All of the 8 and lowers also share a similar effect to, on quick effect, tribute a monster to banish a card from the opponent's grave, with each also having their own unique effect, with Antra bouncing an opponent's card, Harmadic popping a monster, Baltrulia popping a spell trap, Piatti hand ripping on battle damage dealt, Saitsamus banishing a card at the end of the battle phase it attacks in, and
these cards weren't good yet. I mean, you didn't even have the fusion spell yet.
The most unique of the bunch though.
If you put a gun to my head and say, name the secondary effects of the Infernoids, I die. I might barely be able to tell you how many Infernoids you need to banish to summon them.
Okay, I definitely know more than that.
Level
Really?
1 to 4 need 1 banish. Level 5 and 6 need 2 banishes. No.
7 as well.
5 through 8 need 2 banishes, and the big ones
Oh, yeah,
need 3.
8 as well, yeah.
That's what I know. The secondary effects of all of them, I even, dude, the most confusing shit at the time was that some of them could banish stuff from your opponent's graveyard as a quick effect, and some of them could only do it on your own effect, right? Like they say,
yeah,
like,
some of them were only on
on
your opponent's turn. Some
and some of them had it as a quick effect. I never knew. I always had to pick them up and read them whenever I played them in tournaments to make sure they couldn't like banish. Yeah. Small ones are quick effect only on the opponent's turn. See, like, come on, man.
Was undoubtedly a Nunku, a level 10 that nukes all monsters other than itself on summon and contributes.
This deck was not good though. You needed Void Feast, Decatron. This deck was horrible in release. It got better, but still wasn't good.
Infernoid unaffected by opponent's effects that turn and could be banished from grave to keep one alive once. This archetype clearly had a lot going for it in the current meta landscape. DD Crow on most bodies, able to swarm themselves off the previous wave's corpses, and a varied form of
it was not playable
interaction.
at all.
But the major downside was that while they could swarm over and over again easily, getting that first swarm out was extremely resource intensive. Because of their summon conditions, you either had to banish your entire opening to set up decently, or relied on supplemental engines like Lightsworn to set up the grave decently enough to make an early push, which then would get shot in the foot simply by their restriction of only being able to get out one boss monster, as a Nunku would nuke your other pieces on summon, and by its level being 10, lock you from summoning the other bodies.
Yeah, so it was really hard to kill with this deck,
Infernoid would be
which is a very exploitable thing.
now, but would absolutely be an
when you played like Zeus at least.
Forward into the era. Clifford would see a secondary wave in Monolith, the other vanilla scale, able to draw one for each Klee you tributed in the end phase.
This card sucks.
Stealth,
Which is
who on
scale.
tribute summon bounces a card, locking responses from the
Stealth
opponent,
is
and Recolate, a temporary negate of any level 4 or lower
like
level summon.
Stealth have them, you can't respond.
Which in turn would reset the Klee stat line. Each of these would find their home in the current
effect.
version of Klee, with Monolith being standardly a 1 of high scale searchable with Summoner's Art, Stealth being a way to clear the opponent's board without responses by tributing over Helix and Carrier, and Recolate would see play effectively as a way to temporarily stun players while setting up your own stat lines while keeping the immunity effects of your Klees. Burning Abyss would receive its third wave of TCG exclusive support, being Farfa, able to temporarily banish a monster on field until the end.
The card is crazy.
Libic, able to summon a level 3 fiend from
Oh,
hand with
Libic,
effects
right.
negated. Kagna, able to send a Burning Abyss spell trap from deck to grave. Malakota, a ritual who was too bad to even matter, and its ritual spell Good and Evil of the Burning Abyss.
Yeah, this card was terrible, but we played it for some reason.
Send a BA from hand to grave and search a BA
Oh,
card from deck.
that was good. We played it. I think this card fucking sucked after playing it more. It just really wasn't that good. Like, you didn't need it NBA.
This wave would do a lot for the deck by being better effects on the whole than the previous waves, although the new boss was borderline unplayable by being a ritual monster. However, thanks to Kagna specifically, Good and Evil would actually find itself teched into some BA builds as both a way to trigger the hand BAs and search for Fire Lake from the deck, which was unquestionably the best BA spell trap. There was also 3 more archetypes introduced here, all seemingly
Oh right, these all got support before they even came out. I thought Rampengu and Yasenji were also in here. Yeah, so these all 3 got support, and this is the correct spelling. But the original Prince of Dance Princess was just the wrong name for Nekroz. It was so troll. But obviously, like, it worked the intended way. I do not like Spiritual Beasts. Senju's whatever. Nekroz is cool. Jinlock was not, though.
Archetypes, being that of Yosenju, Nekroz, and Ritual Beast. As this
Dude, I forgot. We're going to be looking at Nekroz today. Pog Champion. I forgot. That's so dope. Yeah, they released this before Nekroz. This is the first Nekroz card in the TCG.
This set came out in the OCG after the next pack we were set to receive did, so as such, these pieces will be set aside to talk about in an upcoming section. On to the one-offs. Performapal Partnaga was a 3 scale that could boost the Performapal from the scale.
This mattered. I guess it mattered for some Pepe decks later.
Previously released King of the Feral Nymphs, a point that will become more and more relevant over the coming months. Similarly, Gigabyte was another king target that could special summon itself if you control the spellcaster and floats into a differently named 1500 and 200 stat monster on destruction, also seeing relevance later in the year. Unizombie could, by discarding a card or dumping a zombie.
I forgot about this. This was so cool. I wish this card was a foil. It was common, but it needed more support for it to be playable, but this card was awesome.
Boost a monster's level by 1 once per turn for each method, being a critical setup piece for zombie strategies. Gem Knight Lady Lapis Lazuli was a fusion of the vanilla Lapis and another Gem Knight.
Dude,
Sure.
Did you really unpin the video link and pin the Secret of Eternity? The Secret of it? No. Keep the video pinned. What are you doing?
Able to dump a Gem Knight from deck or extra to burn the opponent for each special summoned monster on the field, only being able to be special summoned once per turn to avoid burn loops, but given time, Gem Knight could find a way around that restriction. Stellar Knight Constellar Diamond was a 3-material right 5 that could also be summoned
This card was
over a Stellar
good.
Knight Exceed in the main phase 2.
But it's also overrated.
Deck to grave and banishing any card returned from grave.
Because you can chain block this typically.
Dark Monster effect and destroy it. This card was so clearly designed to be a catch-all to stop Shaddoll and Burning Abyss in the meta that it's not even funny. Able to be easily made in Teller Knight from turn 2 onwards, or any deck for that matter, as long as they could put up 3
Like
material
Ptolemy
units and
SM7.
Soul Transition contribute to level 4 normal summon monsters, draw
Ptolemy.
2 if you control no special summon monsters, which really should have been labeled a Klee card with how clearly targeted to the strategy it was. Lastly, Blaze Accelerator Reload was a continuous trap.
Oh yeah, this
card
was sick.
Accelerator on field. Could
Card's
come crazy. From
crazy.
hand to draw 1 and could be banished from grave to send a Volcanic.
Volcanic's top. This is the next event with this card legal.
Old GX archetypes and more playability. Reload would actually move to spawn an entire new deck type to the meta with Volcanics, which we'll cover with an upcoming YCS. All in all, Secrets of Eternity was a mixed bag on release, not having much impact in the short term, but over the course of the year would have its pieces become more and more relevant with the release.
I mean, it's a lot of good stuff still.
So in retrospect, like the set looks fine, but as someone who like won this box as prizing a couple times in like locals, this box was worthless. It was actually so bad to open. It was kind of frustrating, especially because all the good cards were just common. I would literally open boxes and pull like $5 worth of cards, and it would just be so depressing. So yeah, this box kind of fucking sucks. But obviously, it did make differences in the meta
overall. Yeah, immediately, like just Clifford support and some new BAs. But
of further cards. This wouldn't be the only release though heading into the first YCS of the year, as the year's first structure deck would also drop before then to help shake up the format just a little more.
Oh, I forgot the structure that came out.
Wait, is that Dark Law? Oh no,
Hero
it's Dark
Strike.
Law.
Release
Oh
date
no.
January 30th, 2015. Set type.
This deck
structure
was
deck. Major strategies. Hero. Impact.
Overrated.
No.
Everyone thought that Mass Change 2 and a Dark Law would be like really powerful, and I mean it wasn't bad, and people played it a lot in BA and Shaddoll. I definitely was victim of this, but it ended up just being like way too high of a commitment body wise for it to be worth it. And then like Snatch Deal and Econ on cards like this were just gross.
Might get through this section
Major strategy cringe.
without being biased. The Hero Strike structure deck would once again usher in a return of hero support to the game, as is tradition at least once in an era. This time would bring the introduction of a massive overhaul to the masked hero sub-archetype introduced at the start of Zexal, bringing a new supporting elemental hero in the form of Shadow Mist, able to search and change quick play spell on special summon, and a hero when sent to grave. A couple of new mass hero support spells in Form Change, which lets you tag a masked hero into a different attributed one, Mass Change
Here's
2,
what Form
which allows
Change
you
is.
to
Mass
mass change
Change 2
any monster
care
at the
about.
cost of a discard, and Mask Charge to recur back a hero and a change quick play. And last but not least, new masked heroes and
Garbage,
Coda, a light
Dark
target that
Law.
boosts by 500 for each opponent's monster, and can banish a hero from grave to drop an opponent's monster.
It's so funny if you think about the fact that they all came out at the same time, and like the difference in power level between these three is insane.
Yeah.
By its attack, Divine Wind, a wind target that is battle destruction immune, locks the opponent to one monster attacking a turn, and draws on destroying something in battle, and the big man himself, Dark Law, a dark target that puts a one-sided macro effect on the opponent and banishes a card from their hand if they add a card from deck to hand. It should be no secret that these are my personal favorite cards in the history of the game, so I'll try and be as unbiased as I possibly can.
Oh yeah,
On
his
the
name
initial
is just
release,
the Law.
Master
Yeah,
Release
this is
was
definitely his
absolutely
favorite card.
wonderful in terms of taking hero in
This is just a
direction.
floodgate. It's just a floodgate. And these people preach they love the healthiness of the game. It's a floodgate. You can't pick and choose your floodgates. I don't care if it's your hero monster. They're floodgates. But he's cool? No, it's not. I have played against this card so many times. I mean, like, this card's not crazy, but like, this is not a fun card to play against.
Potentially meta relevant, namely on the back of Dark Law himself. By special summoning Shadow Mist through a hero lives,
Yeah, you play like the
Goblinberg
Goblinberg shit.
Search
Yeah,
for the mass
this-
change
yeah.
you need to convert her into Dark Law the following turn, which would then net you a hero search. While having immediate applications, Mass Hero for now would not see much meta play, though an interesting place would be
It's
found
a
for
little
new
bit.
heroes almost immediately.
I
Because
mean, didn't people play Mass Change 2 in BA like off rip?
Yeah, and then dolls.
I feel like they did.
the newly released Mass Change 2 could change any monster into a masked hero, there was no need to run all of the hero cards, as you
Rewatched.
could instead tech it in your side deck in any predominantly dark strategy, like Burning Abyss or Shaddoll, to make Dark Law out of any dark body. Was this super relevant? At this point in time, not really, but it was a solid option playing
The Law himself, thank you for the 7 months. Appreciate that. Keep doing what you're doing.
into Burning Abyss specifically because the only in-archetypes outs that they played were Firelake and Virgil, as Dante couldn't boost itself under
Yeah.
Dark Law, which meant that they had lost substantial resources to out the macro effect. YCS Charleston would be held the same weekend.
I mean, I guess.
Oh god, so this event I started off 5-0, there were 10 rounds. I played a lot of people that I later became friends with, which is really funny. Then we realized later that we played. I started off 5-0, and then I end up like losing the next two. I get to the last round of Swiss. It was 10 rounds of Swiss, I'm pretty sure. I get to round 10 at X2, and my opponents, there's like 4 minutes in the clock, like 2 minutes in the clock, I concede. Like I'm like, okay, sure, you're gonna win this game. Let's go to game 3. And then they just side for 2 minutes and we get a draw. And it was like, bro, why? Like, yeah, so we had a draw and I'm on top. That was very depressing. Very depressing. I guess it's because at this point, remember, I still hadn't had a top yet. But I feel like I was getting better as a player and I was a solid, like, I was okay at this point. I wasn't bad.
I guess if they have nothing but Dark Law, you can like make a Downerd in main phase 2. Right?
You can go Acid Golem against them and Dark Law. You can play Leviathan to out Dark Law as well. People did that. There are probably other outs as well. Zen mains. Dark Law wasn't like impossible to deal with.
And the Dark Law, so you run over it next turn.
Being a half-sealed event, and following the release of Secrets, a couple of things would shift, but the overall vibe would remain the same.
Look, there's one Shadol Coper with me.
With the additions of Farfa and Libic, Burning Abyss would solidify its placement as the top deck of the format, also taking first place piloted by Jonathan Castillo to top 16, who did not make his particular list public. Clifford adopted its new pieces immediately, seeing 1 monolith and 2 to 3
spells. But it was sealed in top cut. This one hoping got
being effectively Pot of Greed for Clifford specifically. Helder Knight would continue to see roughly tier 2 to 3 success rates, with Diamond specifically giving them a better matchup into Burning Abyss, but still being substantially behind the top deck. Shadol had taken a serious fall from grace here, being the only heavily affected deck of the previous ban list, in addition to receiving no new relevant support from Secrets like the other.
You're supposed to probably play Denko Dolls, not this version. This version's too slow. Window was still very good versus BA, so you would definitely try to spam Window.
In a position to adapt or die moving into the new format. However, the list that turned the most heads unquestionably was Volcanic, which shockingly went completely undefeated in the Swiss rounds.
Ooh.
Reload had
that deck looks good. I don't remember in Europe. I don't remember anyone playing.
This is kind of popular in NA after this because this deck like popped off.
Right after Scattershot being the dump from deck target to
this card's great
and burn the opponent for 1500 a go, and Royal Firestorm guards being present to reload the engine for further shots.
I did not realize Blaster was still legal at this point. When did Blaster get banned? Was it ever banned? It had to have been banned. Blaster was for sure banned, right? Oh no! All the Dragon rules got banned with Dark Matter, right? And Dark Matter came out when? Later this year. Later this year, when Beaches comes out, Dark Matter comes out. That's what it is. Fuck, we're about to see Dark Matter come out. Holy shit. That card didn't matter as much at the time, but holy fucking god, that card is cancer. But so I remember I actually played one regional when Dark Matter was legal. Before the Dragon Rules got banned. There was like this 1 week in between. People played like a skill drain. There were 3 skill drains legal, so like 3 skill drain Dark Matter deck. We'll get to that in like it's in March, so we'll get to it in like 20 minutes or so.
Also see major success because of this. Able to send a reload to grave to draw 2, then fire the reload from grave to scattershot away a horde.
Side deck, I mean, it's very much worth noting that at this point in time, if you think about it, like Maxi against a lot of the decks in the format is...
No, don't copier. Maxi is broken versus BA. It was fine versus Shadal, and it was good versus Teller. Maxi was definitely a good card, and this should have been in his deck. It wasn't as broken as it is now? No. But he should not defend it here. Maxi definitely wasn't like always insane. It was at this point with BA legal. It was very good. It should have been in his main deck.
Isn't that good? It's dead against Clifford. It's not good against Satellar.
Yes, it is.
It's okay against Shadal, and it's only really good against BA out of the top 4 decks or something.
Strategy would be a rogue option for the next.
I think it's good for Stellar.
Always popping up as a one-of in top cuts at most, usually in tandem with another strategy for added power. Regardless, Charleston had laid the groundwork for an interesting format to develop for sure, but that was all about to be completely upended. For the 5th time in the game's history, we were about to enter a tier 0 format, and judging by how certain aspects of the set played out, Konami knew exactly what they were doing with this one.
Secret Forces. Secret Forces. Dude. And then they made every good card short printed, and the deck was $4,000. Oh god, I had to sell a kidney. Not really, but I had to sell like all of my cards for Nekroz. It was fucking rough. And then I wish I just stayed on BA afterwards. So I ended up switching back to BA a few months later, anyways.
Does anyone remember the Secret Forces? I'm gonna have to rewatch that clip. Hold up.
The Secret Forces. Release date, February 13th, 2015. Set type, deck building set. Major strategies, Yosenju, Nekroz, Ritual Beast. Impact, wait, you can make rituals not suck? While this kind of pack was not explicitly called this at the time, in reality, the Secret Forces would be the prototype for what eventually became known as the deck building set. A set that
I was actually wondering to myself there for a second, is this the first deck build pack? Because I'm trying to think of what became for this. There may have not been anything. This, in retrospect, was just such a crazy set. It had good reprints in foil upgrades, like Manju. Prep wasn't an upgrade, but Djinn was a foil upgrade. This was a fantastic set. Ritual Beast was meta relevant. Yosenju were meta playable, and Nekroz were the best deck of the format. So this was a really good set. Really good set.
Types, whether it be a new take on an older archetype or a completely original one, and jam a whole ton of support to get the strategy on the ground running out the gate with a couple of additional pieces trickled out over the coming core sets. As such, this set would introduce 3 new archetypes we were actually introduced to back in Secrets, with each being a unique take on a previous mechanic. Yosenju would be the first, and arguably the worst of the 3.
I mean, it is.
Warriors focused on chaining
multiple
summons together and bouncing back to hand at the end of the turn. This included the Kamas, each able to perform an additional Yosenju normal on normal summon, with 1 able to bounce a monster to hand if you controlled another Yosenju, 2 able
I remember that Ryan Levine got top cut later in the year with the side frame version of that deck. This one, that was cool, because they're all pretty much spirit monsters where they return to the hand at the end phase.
Directly for half damage, and 3 able to search a Yosenju when a Yosenju deals battle damage, all returning to hand in the end phase of normal summoned. They also received Sujik back in Secrets, able to boost a Yosenju by 1,000 for the turn, or
Yosenju was basically just bad. But they turned into some kind of weird stun deck eventually, where they would play a lot of floodgates.
Well, we can, yeah, side frames send you like a floodgate, and then you played side frames.
While a decent
yeah,
it
it was cool.
Gets disjointed by the introduction of pendulums here too, with essentially
these cards are unplayable. You can play this shit.
Sidebok being a level 10 that bounces 2 cards on normal or pendulum summon, returning to the hand in the end phase of the turn it's special. Lastly, Training Grounds is their archetypal gateway, gaining a counter on each Yosenju summon and able to remove 3 to search a Yosenju card, and Secret Move is the archetypal Omni-Negate counter trap, only usable if you control only Yosenjus. While a fun strategy for the casual level, Yosenju here suffered from a severe lack of focus, as it seemed like the commas and the pendulums were at odds with each other in terms of how the deck was actually supposed to be played, being a pendulum spam strategy or a normal summon swarm strategy, as if you pendulum summoned the commas,
it didn't make sense.
The hand effects would not trigger, and they'd be sitting ducks for the following turn, leaving Yosenju as easily the least playable of the 3 strategies. The Ritual Beasts were up next, a series that actually was made of 2 different sub-archetypes, being the Ritual Beast Tamers.
So I mean, I've said it recently as well, because now it's back as a scourge in the TCG. I've always hated this deck. My first ever top cut, we'll get to there in like in a few months of timeline in this video, is my loss on top cut is Ritual Beast. I hate this deck. It was floodgates. It was Infernity with floodgates pretty much, like Macrocosmos, Defissure, and then they'd go like search steeds, pass. I mean, the deck was good. Undoubtedly, it was very good, but I think it was very underexplored for a lot of its existence here. But did not like this card. Did it go to time? No, I don't think so. I got Macrocosmos 3 games in a row. That was fucking annoying. I was playing BA, so obviously that's not very good.
A series of psychics aimed at tutoring out another Ritual Beast, with Laura reviving a Ritual Beast on normal, Elder giving you an extra normal summon, and when returning a banished Ritual Beast.
Which of the cards weren't legal yet? Was it the trap card Ambush, or was that out already?
Who could banish an RB to boost all RBs.
Because I remember Ritual Beast was not played at all until like the WCQ season, so something had to have been released that changed it. Oh, Ulti Gaia Paleo came out in the next set, and Ritual Beast Bonds was already out, but Gaia Paleo came out next set. Was that the thing that changed it, or was it just people like slept on it maybe?
Banishes an RB in hand to bounce a card, Kanahawk who banishes an RB from deck to Gold Sark, and Rampingu from Secrets who banishes an RB from extra deck to dump a same typed RB from deck to Crypt. Kanahawk's primary gimmick was Contact Fusion, able to make any of their fusions by banishing a Tamer and a Spiritual Beast,
with all
sharing an effect to return to the extra deck to summon a banished Tamer and Spiritual Beast on quick effect, with Ulti Apelio being immune to other cards for its attacks, Ulti Petalpin unable to die by card effect, and Ulti Kanahawk able to return 2 banished RBs to grave to search an RB card. All the RB main deck monsters also had the stipulation of being special summonable once per turn, so while you could theoretically tag between your fusions in them over and over again, in practice there was a limit to how many times you could do it. As for their spell traps, Bond lets you contact fuse on a quick play spell.
Ritual Beast is the kind of deck that at the time, like, I mean, we're about to talk about Nekroz. I was a Nekroz main when that deck came out. I never played Ritual Beast. Looking back, I wish I played it at least, like, maybe not at the YCS or something, but like at a lower level, like regionals type of stuff. I wish I picked up Ritual Beast and played it, because it does look really fun.
Oh,
it's not bad. It's like it's solid.
I need him to agree with me. I need more Ritual Beast haters in the chat. Nekroz still expensive? No.
His search effect does not have to return both targets to grave to get the search off. It just needs to return at least one.
Yeah, so you'd go target 2, chain tag out, bring out
one of the targets, and preserve your resources. Incidentally, did you also know that Ulti Kanahawk is not a hard once per turn? Ritual Beast would absolutely abuse this interaction as much as they possibly could to chain together searches in excess for more pieces to continue search.
So basically, the way it works is if you have 2 banished, and you try to tag out, you need 3 different ones banished. I don't know, they don't need to be different, but you need 3 banished ones. You go Kanahawk effect to, which one is Kanahawk effect to search, which is target 2 of them to put them back into the grave to search. But before it resolves, you change.
You're calling Hermes in Josh's chat right now. Yeah, I can see him spamming his Ritual Beast garbage propaganda. He's been poisoned, man. He's like, yeah, he's fallen.
And so out of those 3 monsters, you've targeted 2 to return. You target the last one, and then one of the other 2 that you've already targeted. Special summon back the 2, then you return only 1, and then you still get to search.
Chains, as well as interaction points.
What do you mean pre-watched? I was there.
Set up for future plays.
I pre-watched it in 2015.
And because of the sheer versatility of this, Ritual Beast would actually be a contender in the upcoming metagame, mostly off the back of Steed's non-targeting pop.
I just think, yeah, it wasn't really played for a few months actually, right? Like I don't think it did well. Maybe I'm just misremembering.
Lastly, and undoubtedly the most important, Nekroz was a series of ritual monsters aimed at being the most generically accessible.
Everyone talks about this. Discard add a Nekroz spell, a trap, and there's just no Nekroz traps. One day we get a Nekroz trap, and it'll be just unplayable.
Give me Nekroz support, like actual Nekroz support. I need it.
On rituals.
Give me BA support as well, and then I'll be happy. But yeah, like I love this era for Yu-Gi-Oh! 2014, 2015, like Duelist Alliance. That's like what I consider some of the golden age. I fucking love that era. I didn't like Djinn, and that's like it. Djinn was definitely the worst part of this. And Klee was also fucking toxic. Ritual Beast I didn't like, but I hated Klee way more. And I wish I gave Ritual Beast more support, so it'd be nice now if they gave Nekroz the support. And I guess this would line up with Terminal Worlds. They might. if they do Terminal Revenge 2. BA though, give me BA and Shaddoll support. Those decks are awesome. I know other YouTubers will be happy as well.
So far, with each of the ritual monsters having some effect in hand requiring them to be discarded and another on the field, usually
One of my favorite decks of all time.
aimed at interacting with extra deck summoned monsters. Clauseless discards itself to search a Nekroz spell trap and can drop an extra deck summoned monster to 0 and negate its effects on a quick effect. Bryonic discards itself to search a Nekroz
Its effect was real. Yeah.
Extra deck summoned monsters once per turn. Trishula can discard itself to negate anything that targets a Nekroz.
So the biggest thing with these cards, like against Nekroz, is a bit of a learning curve if you played BA. A lot of people just didn't think of intuitively, but obviously like would have been a thing back in the day. Is so Bryonic and Clauseless both say target 2 ace monsters that were special from the extra deck. So not extra deck monsters. So it doesn't say like target Exceed Fusion Synchros. It says target monster summon from the extra deck. So in BA, what you do is you notice these have a bad stat line. These actually can't attack over Dante. You crash your Dante in and you see you revive it. So now their best way to kill Dante is to attack over it, and that's it. And then like, it becomes really hard for them to actually clear it without wasting high value resources. And you can win the grind game versus Nekroz. That's how you're supposed to do. Versus that deck, it's pretty much summon the Dante from the grave and you're fine. It also beats Shaddoll Fusion because it's the same kind of restriction. It has to be summoned from the extra deck, not an extra deck monster. Trish was the broken card everyone thought would end the game because it says banish a card from hand, field, and grave. However, if you don't have at least one card in your hand, field, and graveyard on resolution, the card didn't do anything. So what you do is you'd hold one card in hand, and you'd have a Wing Blast, and they'd go Trishula effect, you go Chain Wing Blast, and discard and negate it. Not negate it, but it pretty much negate it while also being a removal spell. So that's pretty good. It's also you could go like Mind Crush and you can intentionally call wrong. So you'd call Blue Eyes White Dragon and it'd force you to discard the last card in your hand and the Trish will resolve without effect. So it'd make it way harder for them to kill your Dante, and that's how you'd win the grind game in the type of matchup. Very cool because there's a lot of like tips and tricks in with and against Nekroz that were really important to succeeding in the metagame, which I really liked. Appreciated.
A card from hand, field, and grave on summon. Yes, you do have to hit one of each or none at all. Unicorn can discard itself to recur a Nekroz from grave to hand, and is skill drain for extra deck summoned monsters. Valkyris can discard itself and banish a Nekroz in grave to negate an attack and end the battle phase, and contribute up to 2 monsters on field or in hand to draw that many cards.
Card is awesome.
Valkyris can discard itself to make a Nekroz immune to destruction that turn, and can discard a Nekroz to pop a card
Gungir's
on field.
bait.
As for their ritual spells, each has an effect to banish itself and a Nekroz monster from grave while you control no monsters to search another Nekroz
just
spell,
sick.
with each also having its own unique gimmick. With Mirror able to banish Nekroz tributes from grave for the summon, Kaleidoscope able to use extra deck monsters for the tributes, also able to
live in the
summon
good old
multiple
days.
Nekroz off of one monster tributed, and Cycle from Secrets able to ritual summon a Nekroz that's in the graveyard. Lastly would be the singular non-ritual Nekroz that was important at this stage, Shurit, able to consider itself the whole tribute for a Nekroz ritual summon.
I mean, Exit and Sage are both playable, so like I wouldn't say that. People played sometimes one of each. Dance Princess was also still playable. Obviously none of those were 3-ofs, and they were good in grind games for sure, but Shurit was the most important, hands down.
Monster when tributed. It's these, don't ask. So in case it wasn't clear, Nekroz was one of the most consistent decks to ever exist in the game's history up until this point. Thanks to years of ritual support waiting in the backlog like Manju, Preparation of Rites, and even the
Prep Rites was so good.
Usage with Kaleidoscope, you had easy access to literally every single card in the archetype thanks to Bryonic.
What about Great Sork and Exa? Those didn't become relevant until later. But yeah.
Sork is out, it's called the Cult Stage,
which
right?
included Clauseless, who could search the spells. While their power level would be seemingly lacking due to mostly being reactive effects, this was all just on paper, as regularly a Nekroz player could set up their resources on the first turn to block you from advancing even slightly, and completely run you out of the game after with proper
Well, there's also
Nekroz, basically,
Djinn!
outside of Floodgates, Nekroz has answers to everything, can grind incredibly well, and cannot die because of Valkyris. That was their thing, right? Like, the Nekroz mirror match, and this is the most important interaction. We're going to talk about Djinn Lock in a second, but like the most important interaction for the Nekroz format is the Trishula interactions, where in order to banish a card from field, grave, and hand, you need to hit one out of every location. So what people would do in Nekroz mirrors is you would try to empty your entire field.
Yeah.
So
you go
would pass
Valkyris,
on
draw
nothing.
2.
The perfect Nekroz end board. First of all, Nekroz would often blind second, but literally the perfect end board of Nekroz was nothing. You would pass on no cards on the board in order to not get trished by your opponent. Because if you had no cards on the field, they could not trish you. And you couldn't die because you would set up a Valkyris in your hand. Because Nekroz can basically draw and search however much you want. And this is further facilitated by the fact that the Nekroz ritual spells search you more Nekroz ritual spells if you have no monsters, right? And so the ideal play was to like summon, you would normally summon a Manju or a Senju on turn 1. You would put a Nekroz of Unicorn next to it with a Kaleidoscope by sending Herald of the Arclight.
Search for Valkyris.
Then you would summon Valkyris with one of the other ritual spells. And then you would go rank 4 into Daigusto Emerald or Laval Chain, but that's a different story.
Laval Chain can send Djinn. I don't know if I'll mention, you also can put a card on top of your deck, right? So like if you want to head Maxi, and Maxi was like good versus Nekroz, but it wasn't broken. You put any card on top of your deck with Laval Chain instead of sending deck to grave, then you tribute the Laval Chain to draw 2, and you draw the card you searched. So if you wanted to search a Floodgate, for example, that's something you could do. Lancia, Droll, Maxi, those were illegal at the time.
Shuffle back 3, draw 1, and then you would go Valkyrus, tribute your Emerald and the Valkyrus itself to draw 2 more, to have like a full hand. You had an empty board, so next turn you can banish your ritual spells to get more ritual spells and keep playing. So it was a very grindy back and forth between who could actually push through enough damage through the Valkyruses, because the Valkyrus in hand also stops your opponent's battle phase.
The player base knew Nekroz was going to be tier 0 immediately on release, and seemingly Konami did too, as the most important piece of the deck, Bryonic, was seemingly a lot harder to pull than any of the other cards. This particular pack was
Valkyrus was also hard to get.
I think this probably goes down in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! As the craziest short print ever. I don't know, I can't think of the top of my head of anything else that comes
Dark Arm was really bad.
Particular moment in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh!
But it's one of the worst,
like,
yeah.
Because these sets are supposed to have, these side sets usually didn't have that expensive stuff in them, because it's like 4 supers and a secret in every pack. So you would expect like, hey, you know, the set has like, I don't know how many different cards, like 60 or something, like only a couple secrets, like maybe 20 secret rares or something. I don't remember exactly, but you would think like, hey, you know, like I'm gonna pull some of these and it's fine, right? You get one freaking, what was it, one Brionac or like case or something, like 12 boxes for a Brionac or something. Yeah. So what was expected to be like somewhat available suddenly went from like the Brionac was like $150 or something like that.
4 super rares and 1 secret rare in every pack, which naturally leads one to believe that the 20 secret rares would each have a similar.
Another big thing for the Nekroz mirror that I guess he didn't mention, because there's a lot of big things for the mirror, was Valkyrus's effect. It was like Scarecrow, right? So if someone goes Valkyrus to negate the attack, and you chain to the Valkyrus to destroy the monster that attacked or make it leave the field, then Valkyrus wouldn't end the battle phase. That's why you played Gun Gear, so you could attack and then blow up your own monster to be able to play around Valkyrus.
Chance to be pulled in that spot, but that was not the case. Bryonic, Trishula, and Valkyrus were short printed very heavily, with all 3 seemingly being pulled at a rate of roughly 1 per every 6 boxes.
Trish wasn't as bad, but yeah.
I think it was, I don't know, I remember it differently, maybe I'm misremembering it, but I think Trishula wasn't that short.
It wasn't, I'm pretty sure.
Brionac was super short, and Valkyrus was pretty short, and Trishula was kind of short. I don't know.
And Brio was crazy short.
Back in the original
maybe Trishula was only cheaper because you would only play 1 or 2 copies. Maybe that's what I'm misremembering. Maybe they were similarly short printed, but Trishula didn't feel as short because you only needed 1 or 2, which obviously for the market meant like it wasn't as expensive. Maybe that's why. But it was always 3 Brionac, no matter which version you played. It was always 3 Brionac. It was 2 to 3 Valkyrus. In the beginning, it was often 2, but I think the ideal number is 3.
Yeah, people changed
Trishula
their
was
minds.
initially a 1-of, and then eventually, because Trishula is the one that stops targeting, eventually people started playing 2 Trishulas, because then you could protect your Trishula from something like Effect Veiler, right?
Yeah.
Because you need to play 2 Trishulas for that, to summon 1, activate it, and then if they Veiler it, you have the second Trishula in hand to stop the Veiler. That's when people started playing 2 Trishes.
Still absolutely ludicrous for a deck everyone knew was going to be tier 1, if not tier 0. As such, prices skyrocketed, with Bryonic at its peak pulling a price tag of around $150, with Valk and Trish also being extremely pricey, but not quite on the same level as Bryonic, and the results from the next YCS would do nothing to help that price point.
This always reminds me of this. This is a goated...
Seattle?
This is a goated clip. We're going to watch it in its entirety. Oh man, this is one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh! Wing videos out there. There's no.
I'm curious what he's talking about, because I actually don't know if I know the video.
It's so funny. It's funny. It didn't feel as funny at the time, but it's very funny. Watch them pull pink dolphins.
YCS Tacoma would be the first event held after the Secret Forces released on February 15th, and though it
was it only 22 Nekroz? I thought it was more than that. But yeah, Nekroz dominated, and then this was NA, so NA did draft for top 16, so we don't actually see who wins the event. But I'm pretty sure we missed the clip. Oh, does he skip it? Does it get cut out of the edit? We'll watch it. Okay, we'll watch it. But yeah, so BA wins the European event though, which wasn't draft. It was interesting.
Nekroz would prove to be an absolutely dominant strategy right out the gate. The consistency of the deck would prove to be absolutely incredible.
Oh wait, people play Eclipse in this. Oh right, Eclipse was for fucking this card. I hate this card. I hate this card. This card is broken. Shared Ride. People started main decking it for mirrors, but holy shit. Oh god. Yeah, so this card, Floodgate, you ritual summon it and then can special summon. So it was just FTK pretty much. You needed outs to it in your deck. Every deck had to play outs. We can't see what's under here by the sponsor, but presumably this is like DD Warrior Lady or some card that beats Djinn Lock. You could Rhoda for the Djinn Lock or Rhoda for Engine. I think Rhoda was at 3 at this point. It's kind of crazy.
But there was one more specific.
Yeah, this is where we have to talk about the Djinn. Like this format, which honestly could have been one of the, it is still one of the best Yu-Gi-Oh formats.
But it could have been so much better.
it probably would be close to the best format ever if it didn't have freaking Djinn in it.
Interaction Nekroz had that would prove to be insanely problematic. Released all the way back in 2009, Djinn, Releaser of Rituals, could be used from grave as ritual cost, and gave any monster summoned using it a one-sided special summon floodgate for as long as it was on.
Bastard. Yeah, read this card. Toxic piece of shit.
The field. Up until now.
So the problem about Djinn was it was accessible through the Val chain, right? So the spot, I told you guys earlier a second ago, normal summon Manju or Senju, summon Unicorn, summon Valk. You can make Daigusto Emerald. You can also summon the Val chain instead. And the Val chain sends Djinn. You go for another ritual summon. You banish
Nekroz
Djinn
cycle
to summon a Klausulus, which is also level 3. And as long as that Klausulus is on the board, face up, your opponent cannot special summon, which is super cringe, obviously, when Nekroz is a deck that only really special summons. So in the Nekroz mirror,
I mean, BA as well. You had to play trap version.
The problem with that whole thing is basically it forced people to play outs to the Djinn lock in the main deck, which were usually rather bad cards. Like we see in this list, it's Book of Eclipse and Book of Moon. There's a lot of other things that people were doing to out the Djinn lock. The weird dynamic that it created was the fact that ideally, like unironically, going for the Djinn lock going first. I remember specifically, I did not often go for the Djinn lock because of the following situation. Basically, when you go first...
Yeah, so you can search one card to protect it here, and pretty much you can choose how to protect it. Protect it from battle, Trish from targeting, or Gungnir from destruction. So Regeki beats this, Trish beats this, and this beats DD Warrior Lady. But how do you know which one they'll play or draw?
In the Nekroz mirror, or in general with Nekroz, but mostly in the mirror match, you have to guess, basically, if your opponent has an out to the Djinn lock, because guess what? If you go for the Djinn lock, and your opponent has an out, you get destroyed.
Yeah, you way down on value,
or they have,
and then you get Nekroz Trish, and you get murdered. You lose your field, you get ripped the card in hand, and you lose follow-up and your grind game. It's way, way worse.
Book of Moon, they out your Djinn lock, and they can Trish you, because you now have a card on the board. So the whole idea of leaving an empty field was out of the window, basically, right? Like, because you didn't want to get Trishulad, you know, so... It was a super toxic like environment, because sometimes you would go for the Djinn lock, your opponent would have an out, and you would get Trish and you would lose. And if they didn't have an out, you just won the game, because Nekroz can always kill on the follow-up turn, pretty much, right? And on top of all that, the most cringe thing of all of these is that there's a bunch of different ways to keep your Djinn lock alive. Because guess what? There's different outs to it that people played, like Book of Moon targets. Trishula negates targeting on Nekroz cards, so Trishula negates Book of Moon. Raigeki, which is in this list as well, destroys, which I think Gungnir you can discard to prevent a
go for lock every time. Better have it.
So,
but like
again,
the pro player doesn't want to take that risk.
You'd have to like guess what kind of cards your opponent had, and this becomes even worse when people start playing. There's actually this period in time. I'm sure we're going to talk about it in just a moment. Where people start playing Rhoda targets to out the Djinn lock. It's like this Giga mini game.
Is that not in his deck here? I mean, I can't see here, but I assume they are.
Where there's 2 or 3 Rhodas. I think Rhoda goes to 2 eventually during these times. But there's a bunch of different ways to out the Djinn lock with
yeah, so there's like Camera Clops, Armageddon Knight for Farfa. I know I liked Armageddon Knight because I could also play Shadal Dragon to pop like emptiness. I played Shadal Dragon and Farfa. DD Warrior Lady, Bull Blader, Exiled Force, all like options people played.
Warriors. There's Bull Blader, which I think attacks and then destroys it by card effect. There's DD Warrior Lady, which crashes and then banishes it. There's Exiled Force, which targets it and destroys it, so it gets stopped by Trish and Gungnir, but you don't lose your battle phase. And there was this whole mini game of, because Nekroz can search so many cards on the first turn, right? If your opponent would go for the Djinn lock, they would usually search 1 or 2 cards that would protect it, right? But they would have to decide, you know, am I going to search Trishula? Am I going to search Gungnir? Or maybe am I going to search Valkyris to stop, because Valkyris can stop attacks, right? So if you go for DD Warrior Lady and they have Valkyris, well, tough luck, you know, it doesn't work. You die next turn. If you go for Exiled Force and they have Trishula or Gungnir, well, you've wasted your normal summon and the Djinn lock is still there, right? And so it's such a cringe dynamic in a format that otherwise would be so dope, like so dope. And this is why Book of Eclipse was the one of choice in early Nekroz format, because Book of Eclipse was the only one that basically there was no Nekroz card that would stop it, because it didn't target and it didn't destroy.
Until people
right?
played
so
like Secret Village and Scalding.
And it also left it on the board so you can Trish them after, right? So this is why...
It's horrible if they don't do it. At least with level 4 like Rhoda targets, you'd like normal summon Armageddon Knight, and then you can make like Emerald with it still. You make ring 4 with it. right? That was like the reasoning behind stuff like that.
Were hand traps non-existent? Or were cards like Maxi, Veiler, and DD Crow not played? So Maxi, as you can see, is in the side deck, but Maxi doesn't stop the Djinn lock anyways. Unironically, Maxi in this format is like fine in the mirror match. Some people mained it. But there's a lot of matchups in the format it isn't that good against. Like at this point in time, people play a good amount of Cleaford where Maxi does nothing. Satellar Knight with a lot of floodgates was also being played. So cards like Maxi and Shared Right, which were really good against Nekroz, were mostly side deck. Unless you wanted to make your deck better in the mirror match.
It was believed that Ritual was too slow a mechanic to ever use it reliably, but with the release of Nekroz, they would...
Yeah, it'd pretty much be like what a modern deck looks like, right? You have a giant engine, and then you fit in some utility cards, and some non-engine. So, like, it would change a lot. People tech more from mirror, they play these. Veiler was popular. People started playing Denko in the main deck at some point. There were several different options. What was the problem with DD Crow? Well, if they didn't go for Djinn Lock, it was a very low-value card. It just wasn't a good card to have. Like, crowing something didn't really accomplish much. It was just a bad hand trap.
The level 4 normal summon searchers of Manju and Senju to use alongside Nekroz of Unicorn to access Lavalval Chain, which in turn would dump the Djinn from deck to use as material for the summon of a monster.
I guess DD Crow is another card that could have been played. I don't remember people really playing DD Crow. Now that you say it, maybe DD Crow was a little bit overlooked because it feels like DD Crow is solid to prevent the Djinn lock.
But that shows they don't go Djinn Lock.
DD Crow has the same problem where you couldn't really main deck it, right? Like, it's terrible against... Like, Book of Eclipse at least would help you out like a Floodgate from Cleaford sometimes, I think. The same is true about MST, by the way. MST is a terrible card in the Nekroz mirror. It was always the big question because the main, literally, Nekroz was so powerful, the only way that other decks had to beat it were Floodgates. So, and there were a bunch of decks that were, because Nekroz was so expensive, a lot of people played Satella or Cleaford or anything like that. They all relied on Floodgate, like Mistake.
So after Djinn, so this is the Nekroz
right?
Great
Those
Sage.
were really popular. So that's why we still main decked MST very often. But it never felt good to play MST because it's completely dead in the mirror match. That's one instance, by the way. This is not yet the case, but this is why I was really happy when Archfiend Eccentric came out. It came out at some point during Nekroz format. I don't remember exactly when. I think it's 2015. Nationals. It should happen in this video. But one reason why Archfiend Eccentric was so cool was because it could out monsters and spell traps. And you can also tribute it for Valkyris if you don't need it, because Valkyris can tribute any monsters to draw cards. So I want to say
it's not cross. Maybe it's end of Nekroz. Maybe it's core.
Maybe I cited it.
It's core. I think.
I know that I played it.
Like Plausilis, which, as it turned out, would be incredibly easy to pull off reliably given how consistent the deck was. The Djinn Lock, as it became known, would be the bane of the format.
This is looking back. I just wait. This
Ray says set MSC to bait Trish. Yeah, MS. They go like search Trish. They go ritual spell. You chain MSC, target the spell, and if they still summon Trish, they just effed because now you Trish them back. That was like a big mistake, but yeah.
This format literally would have been peak.
How did Yu-Gi-Oh survive this period? It seems terrible.
If they just banned Djinn.
What? We just talked about how good this period was. Djinn is like the only bad part about it.
And it would not have made Nekroz unplayable whatsoever. Like Nekroz with Djinn banned is still the best deck in the game at this point in time, for sure. It would not have hurt the numbers at all in terms of how many they sell or whatever. It would have just made the format less toxic, right?
Common consensus being that a one-sided lock sucked all skill out of the format, which would also lead to one of the most controversial angle shoots in the game's history, which we'll cover soon.
Wait,
Clifford would actually move to do fairly well here thanks to being one of the only decks that didn't auto-lose to the Djinn Lock, as normal summoning a Klee with Sacrifice equipped was shockingly...
Not playing 3 skill drain was psychopathic behavior, by the way, but yeah, this deck is fucking cancer. And then they'd summon towers as well. Absolute ugh.
Usually enough to get out of the lock, providing a slower path to a boss on it.
Look at this side deck, man! Fuck this deck! Who likes this crap?
Or by ensuring that you could use the tribute effect of Carrier.
Oh yeah,
that didn't mean
I said mistake, but obviously Emptiness and Skill Drain are also here.
Always going to work. There were extremely simple counters to this line like MST and Trish.
Solid Texture, thank you for the 13 months. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for the support. I do think, I don't know, but my guess is that it's in there, but I have no idea.
Targeting negation, but it was usually consistent enough to get the job done. Burning Abyss was the only other deck to make top cut here, and that was primarily thanks in large part to Farfa, as by temporarily banishing the Djinn monster from the board.
I mean, the aggro BA decks didn't work anymore, right? Because the thing would be summon a bunch of Dantes and Firelike them, but Firelike wasn't good versus Nekroz because Trish stops targeting, and also they didn't really put 3 cards on the field for you to really get value out of that. And blowing up their field wasn't really good anyways. You also could get Dweller, and that would screw you over. Unicorn stopped you from attacking. And if you made 2 Dantes turn 1 without the trap card or the MST'd you immediately, they'd go Brio and spin your board. So yeah, those cards fucking sucked. The way to play BA was the trap version. You couldn't play the trapless version, as it was called. It was popular literally a month prior. You had to entirely change the way you played BA. You go back to the old trap BA version with new tools, with Farfa. But yeah, that was the best way to play it. It took people a little bit of time to adapt. Shadal was not good at this time. Shadal didn't have Anomalous yet to stop some of the combos from Nekroz. And same problem, right? You can summon Windows, and they go Nekroz, Brio, bounce. And Brio is broken, right? You go search Brio, you get Clousless, recycle, cycle, ditch, sure it, revive Brio, search another Brio or Trish for Veiler or whatever. Brio spin their field, attack. And now their 2-card combo ended with one less card in hand and a searchable card on the grave. So you pretty much like expended 0 resources for that. Very, very strong combo.
Burning Abyss player could continue their lines as normal, which was still countered by Trishula's negation effect. Barret keys would win the
thing about BA is that it's unfortunately getting almost completely hard countered by Nekroz, because like all the Nekroz cards just fuck up extra deck monsters, and Trishula is insane against BA. BA would do a different thing, by the way, to outplay Trishula, which is really cool. Like Trap BA was like I want to say the second best deck during this format, probably next to Cleaford.
It was the second best deck until Brio got hit. I think this is going to be a differentiating a statement between us. I think after the first wave of Nekroz hits, which is in April, BA becomes the best deck, and it takes a little bit for people to realize it. But around the time of Nationals and WCQs, BA just starts to take over it more, despite being played less. BA was the better deck, I think, is the reality of it. Didn't Barret win or play in I was like 3 YCS in a row? Yeah, Barret went on a spree in this event, in this time frame. It was draft though for Top Guts, so it's a little bit different. But yeah, he definitely like topped all the time with Nekroz, and then he obviously knew what he was doing in the draft format as well. It was at this point that like I think Steven Dallar gets second against him, and they play in Chicago. I think it's Chicago, and then Barret loses in the finals to Steven Dallar. So it's kind of like the Josh versus Billy thing, except no, I think it's pretty much that. It's pretty much the same thing.
But there was one thing you can do. The good BA players.
Josh swore Nekroz is better, and I'm swearing BA is better. Jesse Cotton and Farfa disagree with you. You can't do that. It diminishes the point of the argument if you say that Farfa agrees with me, because that just makes my argument look stupid. It makes me look like I'm Farfa. It doesn't help your case. It makes me look worse. I think BA, you have to play it very carefully. BA, if you fuck up versus Nekroz, over in an instant. It's really bad. However, I played a lot of this format. I played a lot of Yu-Gi-Oh! And I do think BA was favored. But yes. You know, if Cody still plays Yu-Gi-Oh! He was playing the Edison format of Nationals. Farfa and Josh played a Master Duel and he got 0-5'd. Farfa and Josh are not comparable in skill level. It's not the same thing. I bet you I would 5-0 Farfa. Like, it doesn't mean shit. This part of why this was such a good format, it was a very skillful format. Like, Nekroz was a good deck. It was not bad at all. But that therein lies the problem. It's a skillful format. So even if they're playing different decks and one deck is slightly better than the other, I don't think it's a big difference. The better player will fucking destroy the other player. So, Josh slaps up Farfa. And now all us BA fans look like morons. One day, we'll have a show match, me and Josh. We have to go back to the olden days, and we'll relive it. I must reclaim honor for the burning abyss. I called him Fartfa. It's called the joke. I don't know what to tell you.
Would do something like you would have no cards in hand, or you would have only one card in hand, and when they summon Trishula...
Secret Village BA was also popular. That shit was terrible. It won the first event, I'm pretty sure, or an ARG. The deck fucking sucked, though, but that deck was kind of popular. It was awful. Trish Solos BA, that's just not true. Like, if you were smart as BA player, you never got trished.
Activate the effect. You would chain something like Karma Cut to discard the last card in your hand, and then so the Nekroz player, if you have one card in hand and some set cards, you always have to guess, well, do they have a discard trap? Then I can't trish them because they chain, get rid of the last card in their hand, and then, can't do that. The problem with that is if you played against a good Nekroz player, they could also outplay that, right? Because if the BA player is forced to keep their discard traps in the back row before using them, like because they want to bait the opponent into Trishula, what you can do is you can do something like run over Dante, and then what is the BA player going to do? Like not trigger their floaters? Because if they don't, if they trigger the Dante to add something back, then they have 2 cards in hand and they can't dodge the Trishula anymore with a discard trap. Right, and so it's actually a very cool matchup. Like I think Trap BA without Floodgates versus Nekroz in this format is.
I actually just didn't like Floodgates in BA because the way you'd lose is if you play Floodgate MST and you're just wasting resources. I didn't make a mistake. I only sided 2. I think it was not necessary. I really loved this format. It was so skill intensive. I think.
And in the sealed draft, making it the top 16 with Nekroz, marking the deck's.
Oh, I froze Josh to the funny face.
Into the year's Gold Series under a week later.
Wait, your back check wasn't out yet. Oh man, that's my fucking guy. I love that. Oh wait, no, Beatrice wasn't out yet. This was Dark Matter and Backjack. Backjack, I fucking love that card. I need that card to come in a foil rarity that's not shitty ass gold rare because I love this card. Give me collector rare Backjack. Oh man, when it was in Wild Survivors, was it, and it wasn't a collector, I was mauling because like I really can't praise this card enough. This is like one of my favorites. I think this is one of the coolest cards ever. And then Dark Matter should be in here as well. I'm trying to think what else is in here that does anything. Dark Matter does something for a week and then gets banned, or the dragons get banned. Is that it? Or like there's the Blackwing support, but who cares?
Release date, February 20th, 2015. Set type, import, reprint set. Major strategies, Blackwing, Masked Hero, Galaxy Eyes. Impact, a theorized meta breaker. Return of the Bling would be the second crack at turning the yearly Gold Series sets into an import source for the TCG to receive some cards not yet brought in from the OCG. And for the most part, as usual, these imports were not all that impressive, but would hold some niche applications, such as Absolute King Backjack, a new wave of Blackwing support, Cat Shark, Masked Hero Anki, Rose Lover, and Santa Claus. However, there was one card among these that held legitimate potential. Number 95, Galaxy Eyes Dark Matter Dragon could be overlaid onto any Galaxy Eyes Exceed, and could dump 3 dragons from deck on summon to make the opponent banish 3 monsters from deck.
This guy is still banned, right?
Yeah, it's still banned.
I don't feel like it did.
Able to attack twice in the battle phase by detaching material. With the currently limited Dragon Rulers, Dark Matter was instantly theorized as the perfect way to set up your board for large-scale pushes, being hailed as the return of Dragon Rulers.
So what I'm trying to remember, like I remember people experimenting with this card. I'm trying to remember how they made it, because it would have been like a rank 8, right?
Yes, they played the Mythic Dragons. They played like 3 of each Mythic Dragon, and they played like the one of Dragon Rulers, a couple White Stones and shit, with like for Dragon Shrines, trade-ins, and revival spells. And then they'd play like triple skill drain, triple emptiness, like the Clifford deck. And it'd be played like Clifford, where you just fill your grave, and then you play like you did 2013 or 2012 Dragon Rulers. You build a Dark Matter deck and you get banned immediately. Deserved, right? Because you were floodgating POS. Mazu Garzet, yeah, there were normal summon level 8s they could play as well. I don't remember what they all were. Garzet maybe, whatever. I think 95 can be unbanned, and no. It sounds for cost. You can't even Veiler it. It's kind of rough.
You'd have to like make a rank 8 Galaxy thingy and then overlay this over it. What was it? Like, was it the Water and Earth Dragons? Hieratics? That's what, yeah, Hieratic Ruler. I think that's what people were trying to do. Yeah.
To the format, but we'd have to wait and see if it could actually convert into results. In addition to these, a series of currently banned cards would see significant erratas to their effects in order to potentially return to the game on the next ban list. Sinister
Crush card!
In its effect,
Crush card! I love, dude, Crush card in my BA deck was fucking awesome. That was great. Crush card got errata and it was actually playable in BA. That was sick. I loved that one. And Crush card was like always my dream card as a kid because I could never afford it, obviously, when I started playing in 2008. Oh, I was playing before that, but when I was playing then. And then by the time it was like reprinted, it was still really expensive. And then it was banned. So when it got reprinted and like was still good, that was just like awesome. But yeah, no, this is a Crush card was sick. What else is there? Sinister Serpent didn't matter. People tried playing it because they're dumb, but this card did nothing for obvious reasons. What else was there? Is that it?
During the opponent's next end phase, which effectively meant that if you...
These are the worst kind of erratas, by the way. I genuinely, I don't know how I feel about erratas, because sometimes I feel like it's cool, but the ones that I'm the most frustrated about erratas on cards that even if they were unerrata'd, they would still not see play today, right?
Like Yugioh Guardian,
Serpent, Yugioh Guardian, those kind of cards. It's just sad when they change those cards, even though Brain Control is another one. Like Brain Control, like Change of Heart is legal, and Brain Control is errata'd, and it's a worse version of Change of Heart. Like it's
discarded it within a turn of bringing it back, it was gone for good.
I think at this point,
oh,
I tend to agree with some people in the chat saying like they should just, like, if they think the card is too powerful, just leave it banned, and if you want to make a new version of it, just make a new card, right? Just make a
yeah, like they did with Trade Toad. I'd rather wait. I don't like I'd rather they just made a new virus card, not redo Crush card. But I'm still happy. The way it panned out ended up being okay for me, but still, like it was definitely handled poorly.
Just make a retrain, you know, like give it a cool name, make it look like Sinister Serpent a little bit, and give it that new effect, right?
Right, when they so much the gift, appreciate it.
Kings would see its trap condition limited to 1 trap a turn rather than all, heavily hampering its FTK potential. Exchange of the Spirit would now require both players to have 15 plus cards
that was terrible.
rather than just the controller, killing its
but it was playable later.
Ring of Destruction now had to be used on the opponent's turn.
Right, okay, this one was fine. I played Ring in my BA deck, so this one actually made a difference.
Something that would burn them for game on activation.
Like this one, for example, is like kind of fine, because in theory, the card is not...
It fixed the design flaws. This one, I actually think this is the only type of acceptable errata, because it stopped the drawing bullshit. Which I think was toxic. The during your opponent's turn was whatever, that probably shouldn't have changed. But the opponent taking damage, or you taking damage first, I think is good, because it stops you from drawing, which that's a good thing to happen, I think.
That much worse. Then again, when we played Goat format in Master Duel, like it did matter sometimes. But the thing is, like, you're right, Herman. Like, Ring of Destruction, when it came back with this effect, actually was still a good card, and people were able to play it. So this kind of errata that just slightly changed the card, but made it fine for a while. Nowadays, no one plays it, but back in the day, people did. Like, it was fine.
And on top of all of that, you took the burn damage first to ensure no tied games, placing so many new restrictions on the card that it was almost not worth it anymore. Lastly, and most importantly for the short term, Fresh Card Virus lost its 3-turn effect, blocked the opponent from taking damage from the rest of the turn, and let them destroy up to 3 monsters that met the condition from their deck. While this was considerably worse than the original version by a country mile, this would actually be theoretically good for certain decks in certain metagames, but we'd have to see how it plays out the following
I played it in BA. I know it's fantastic in
2
BA.
weeks later on March 1st, and once again, Nekroz would show its dominance on the top cut, but this time would not take the event overall. Valen's Latoutre would hold that honor, taking the event with burning a bit.
Yeah, this is like the BA I'm talking about. This one doesn't actually play that many floodgates. It side decks one mistake.
This was still like a primitive version, right? People still learning how to build it. It got better. Like, yeah, this is the mass change crap as well.
Discard traps. I think the reason why.
Oh, yo, no Karma Cut's crazy. Karma Cut was better than both of these. Karma Cut was definitely the best one. So that not being in there is kind of like insane. I think Break was the second best. You can pop your own cards. Wing Blast was for sure the worst, but Karma Cut was so good.
He won is probably because people I think this deck is good. I don't think Nekroz should often lose to this, but I think because Nekroz was super new, this was the first major event in Europe with Nekroz. I don't think people played well against this, probably, and he probably played it well. I mean, he built this deck with the idea of beating Nekroz, so he probably did the whole have one card in hand, opponent summons Trishula, you chain like Wind Blast, and then
and if people weren't used to that, they'd get screwed.
That sort of thing. He probably did that a lot throughout the tournament. So I think he was just very well prepared to beat Nekroz, whereas Nekroz was not well prepared to beat this deck, which I think is why it was able to win. Yeah. Doesn't Nekroz play really bad? Not really.
Hey Vlad, you can't believe we're reacting to Josh reacted video. Well, earlier we reacted to you editing MBT's video in which you put my face on a thumbnail when I'm not quitting the game. I know it was you, Vlad. I played Nekroz up until June this year. I played BA, the Nekroz came out, then I played Nekroz for a few months, and then I played BA. You didn't make the thumbnail, Vlad? Are you sure you didn't? Uh-huh. Who made the thumbnail then? Who threw me under the bus?
No, not really. Like, the only one that plays badly into the discard traps is Trishula. But the thing is, Trishula is really good against BA, but you're not forced to make Trishula. Like, you can play, the thing is, Nekroz, the way you play it in the Nekroz mirror, you can play it a lot differently against a deck like this, where you can, like, just summon a Brionac, and that's really good against BA, because, like, they end on, like, 2 Dantes, and you just bounce them back into the extra deck, and they lose the add-backs and all that. Like, Nekroz outgrinds this deck, unless there's a Dark Law.
Nah, nope, not true. Not true. It's just not true. It's just not true.
Yes, sporting 3 main deck.
Also, Nekroz makes Dweller, so
copies of Mask Change 2 to
I won't let you make Dweller. I will stop that.
access Dark Law in a metagame where his presence was becoming more and more useful by the day. As a one-sided macro,
but yes, Mass Change into Dark Law is a monster against Nekroz.
And Search Banisher was shockingly competent into Nekroz. YCS Guatemala would be a week later, though unfortunately we know next to nothing about this particular event outside of Eric Briego taking the event after Top Cut Seal Draft. But another notable event in the game's history would be the same weekend. The ARG Circuit Series Fort Lauderdale would be held the same weekend as Guatemala, and though we haven't discussed ARG's tournaments up until this point, this particular event is extremely important to both the history of the game itself and the community at large due to a specific choice made by a top player. For those unaware, ARG, or Alter Reality Games, was a shop at the time that would regularly hold their own major tournaments completely separate from Konami's oversight. As such, these tournaments are an interesting topic for covering at another time, but this particular event would have Patrick Hoban, a major player of the era, running both Djinn in the main deck and a Djinn in the sideboard of his Nekroz deck. Because of the
we're actually gonna talk about this? Oh my god. Alright. Hoban Gate? Fuck. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm gonna probably stay silent for a lot of this. Let me just make the disclaimer, if it's not here, you cannot make gentlemen's agreements. I don't know if it was legal back then, but it's for sure not legal now. They've made it very clear you cannot do this. Peak Yu-Gi-Oh drama, it's still drama to this day, which says something.
A common practice at the time was to, after game 1, ask the opponent if they would like the gentleman's out a Djinn in the main, with both players agreeing to move Djinn to the side decks for games 2 and 3. Hoban developed an angle shoot.
Okay, so just in case that wasn't worded clear enough, what people would do a lot at the time was everyone main decked one Djinn, right? And because of what I explained previously, the outs to the Djinn lock weren't actually good cards in the Nekroz mirror match. It was really annoying. So what people did was they asked their opponent, hey, do we want to side out the Djinn, right? Which at the time, I think that was completely legal. I think they changed those rules eventually. Like nowadays, I don't think you can do that anymore. At the time, it was something that people did. And what they would do is, because everyone knew that it was a one of, they would just show each other the one copy that they sided it out, right? Normally you side your cards face down and they don't see what you side in and out, but with the Djinn, they would place it face up to show the opponent that that they sided out the Djinn, right? And so with Patrick Hoban, you didn't show your opponent the cards you sided in, obviously. You just showed them, hey, I'm siding out my Djinn, right? And so, yeah, this guy just thought it'd be a great idea to just put a Djinn from the side deck into the main deck then, because obviously if both players side out the Djinn, you also take out the Djinn outs. Like, yes, I'm taking out Book of Eclipse if my opponent is showing me that they side out the Djinn, right? And so like after siding, Nekroz, like I said in the mirror match, even if the opponent goes first, they're ending on an open board. They have no more outs to Djinn in their deck, so you just make the second Djinn. Yeah, so at the time, think of it what you will, this was it was whether you think it's ethical or not, I personally think it's cringe as hell, but it was, I think, legal at the time. But the thing is, it ruined the format even further, because then people wouldn't even be able to agree on it anymore. Like, people were so scared that this was going to happen that it basically stopped. I remember they even made, I think they made an announcement at the European Championship in 2015 before the event started. They said they told us to not do that, right? Because of that, right? I think it's funny as heck.
They made announcements for us too. Yeah, pretty much no gentleman agreement.
At that point in time, I mean, I can definitely see the comical aspects of it, but it's pretty cringe. It's pretty cringe.
YCS Chicago would be held 2 weeks later, and to no one's surprise,
bubbled this event as well. This was in the era where I bubbled every event until I got my first off a little bit later. I played Thunder King in my Nekroz deck for the mirror match at this point as a normal summonable floodgate that just won the game on the spot typically. I was very proud of that, but I bubbled out of this again. So shit, man.
Seeing over half
I was still Team Nekroz.
The winner, Stefan DeLara, piloted into the top 16 draft. The slap on the wrist that they received on the previous ban list had done jack all to the deck's insane consistency.
And you see here they move more towards a mirror match focused meta. I was playing, of course, Shared Ride as well, probably in the main. A lot of people started doing this, which is very, very focused towards the mirror. This is where BA gets a good position. No, I didn't play Floodgates really my BA deck. Well, I'll show you my BA list when we get there.
A headache for most to deal with. Shadal and Teller Knight would both see a surprising resurgence, however, with unfortunately no public list for Teller Knights being available to analyze here. Shadal, on the other hand, had received a boon on the previous ban list in the form of Crush Card Virus, as both
triple mistake Shadal lists, man.
Yeah, about to say, like, these decks were just Floodgate decks. This shit sucked in this deck. It was only going to be BA because they get to trigger too many effects. You really only wanted to do this to hit I mean, you know what, it was actually fine in this deck, but it wasn't great. You should be playing Torrential though if this is the game started going for. Torrential was really good.
And Burning Abyss could use the new tool in the current metagame in a
the Trishula mirror is really funny. This is like Mirror of the Ice Barrier is like, if you get Trished, you Trish your opponent back really hard. I think it's like if your opponent banishes your stuff, you can do the same.
It's for the rest of the turn. If a card in your hand is banished, you rip 2 from your opponent's. On your field is banished, banish 2 from your opponent's. If your opponent hits it from grave, banish 2 from your opponent's grave. So it's just like literally just hits it's a mirror, reflects it back at them, but times 2.
Double to them. It's like reverse double Trish, but only, that's the thing, right? Only if they don't hit it. You have to like set a bunch, and they have to miss the this thing, because it's like you can activate it after they banish your stuff.
Wait, what? No, I'm pretty sure it's the rest of the turn. I thought. Is it really a new chain? I didn't play that card because it felt bait. Because there was if your opponent just sets it back row, it was always bait. Like you never summon Trish. What is it called? Mirror of the Ice Barrier. No, you can use this beforehand. During this turn, each time a card is banished, yeah, you just chain this beforehand. But like, no one was dumb enough to play in this. This was like the biggest punish to be idiots. But like, it was never actually good.
it's pretty risky, right? Oh no, you chain it. Oh, okay.
Okay, he got called out.
The Ice Barrier. Ah, it's during this turn. Okay, I see. Yeah, okay, I misremembered. Okay, my bad.
Surprisingly effective manner, as Nekroz was the dominant deck of the format.
Pre-watched? Not pre-watched. I wouldn't have said anything if I knew he said it.
Crush Card actually did a shocking number on the strategy, able to rip most of their rituals out of
the fuck is Alexa talking about? Shut up.
And giving no real way to benefit from the deck destruction downside added on, allowing Shadal and Burning Abyss to both keep a foot in the door for the format. Cliffort had to adapt with the ban list hit to sacrifice, with the most common pivot being to the trap Recollate, able to boost your Clifforts back to full on normal, while also stunning low-level normal summons and high-level special summons.
Oh my god, wait, they got lose one turn later this year. Oh my god, fuck that card too.
see its first premier event top, showcasing its resource loop quite effectively, having an actually surprisingly good Nekroz matchup thanks to Steed's able to non-target pop as Djinn locks. This would leave the format a bit too similar to before the ban list, but with some clear changes in the air, and those changes would only be pushed forward by the OCG import set that...
Wasn't it also like... I kind of remember it was really annoying to get rid of the Ritual Beast cards because they could all chain to dodge stuff. Did Nekroz of Unicorn even negate the thing?
No, Nekroz Unicorn is pretty much skill drain, so tagging out would dodge it.
Yeah, it only negates... Nekroz of Unicorn only negates the effect of monsters on the field that were special summoned from the extra deck. So, like, I think what you would do, because they return as cost, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you would just activate effect to search, chain effect to go back into the extra deck, then it's not back, then it's not on the field anymore, so you could still... Basically, the full Ritual Beast combo worked under Nekroz of Unicorn.
Followed 2 days later.
I forgot about this set.
World Superstars.
Nothing mattered though here, right? Galaxy Soldier was a cool card. F-Zero was very good.
Star Seraph, Galaxy, Impact. World Superstars would bring a handful of cards we've been missing out on in the TCG to the game. And while some were clearly too late to have their impact felt, particularly in Never Disc, there were still a couple of important...
Star Seraphs were... I feel like Star Seraphs were hella overhyped.
They were so overhyped.
Like, people were trying these in everything, and it basically boiled down to, if you didn't open Stick plus Chair, it was pretty bad. Like, it was just awful.
It was like Wind Up Sharks
Specifically both together. And so I don't feel like they did anything.
It's here worth discussing. Galaxy Soldier could special summon itself by sending a light from hand to grave, then search another Galaxy monster. Soldier specifically would be considered for light decks because of its ability to access Constellar Pleiades, as by summoning it, you could search another to immediately summon for the rank 5 access. This would be experimented with for the time.
Don't tell Simo this. Does he like those cards? I think those cards are fucking terrible. Like, I do not like those cards.
Consistently do anything with it would be Teller, which was not completely sold on its inclusion. The heroic archetype would also see its first support since the Zexal era here. Assault Halberd could special summon itself.
It wouldn't be a problem yet, but fuck this card.
Opponent has a monster and you don't, and pierces, searching a heroic on damage. Thousand Blades can discard a heroic to summon a heroic from deck, locking to heroics, and can summon itself from grave when you take damage. And Rongo Miniad was a warrior locked rank 4 that could be made with up to 5 materials, gaining effects for each, which in order includes battle destruction immunity, a 1500 boost, card effect immunity, summon locking, and a board nuke. While extremely impressive, Rongo had no real enablers at the time outside of specifically Teller once again, and even then the 4th material is really what mattered in its case, unable to reliably reach that going first there, causing it to see no real play. Although Halberd and Blades would both see experimentation over the coming months with upcoming releases that would allow them to stick around longer in the short term. Star Seraph's Scepter can search a Star Seraph on summon, and if used for an exceed of 3+ materials, can pop a card on field to draw 1. Star Seraph Sovereignty can, when a Star Seraph is summoned, special summon itself from hand and draw 1. Only
I refuse to call these Scepter and Sovereignty. To me, all to this day, they are stick and chair.
Able to be used for an exceed that takes 3+ materials. Scepter and Sovereignty, or Stick and Chair as they became known in the community, were extremely interesting options for decks that wanted access to Deltros or Diamond, as opening one of each could get you there thanks to Scepter Search and Sovereignty Summon going onto a chain with each other from Scepter Summon, meaning that by searching another Sovereignty, you could trigger its summon effect off the summon of the first Sovereignty due to how hand knowledge worked, resulting in anywhere from 2 to 3 draws and 2 pops from these cards alone, which would see splash play as an engine for the near future. Lastly for the set, Utopic Future could be made using 2 non-number exceeds.
Good for BA, very good.
Destroyed by battle, reflects damage back to the opponent, and takes control of anything it battles for the battle phase, able to protect itself from destruction by detaching material. This would be slotted into BA thanks to its ability to convert used up rank 3s into a body that does something, as well as being a Dante holder, as Dante would still trigger when detached off, similar to how Downard had been used. YCS Bokura would be held the same weekend and would be the end of an era in its own way, as this would be the final event to do sealed draft top cuts in the history of the game as of the writing of the script. From these results, though the meta had remained mostly the same, there were a couple of adaptations worth looking into. Shadal would be the primary strategy, seeing a change in its game plan, as with the rising need for more relevant lights in its lineup for access to Construct, the new Stick and Chair build is optimal, giving the deck access to Evil Swarm or Ouroboros of all things to provide a hand rip going first, in addition to the draw 2 off chair. This would become the norm for Shadals moving forward, including Stick and Chair into lists for the added.
By the way, if you're wondering about the popularity of Mind Crush at the time, this is obviously still, I think, the old Mind Crush rulings, where you would see your opponent's hand when you Mind Crush. But obviously, because Nekroz searched so much, you could basically Mind Crush them at any point. But it was even more crucial because the most important interaction with Mind Crush was to actually chain it to a ritual spell. And the most important thing was, we've seen him earlier, Shurit, the Nekroz strategist, or whatever it's called, can be used as the entire ritual material for a ritual summon. So what people would do is they would set up ritual spell, Shurit, plus the monster that they wanted to, like, summon, or maybe they wanted to summon from the graveyard.
So I always thought the Mind Crush wasn't the best because it was easy to play around. However, just Mind Crush existing meant people played around it, which made trap decks way better. So I never played Mind Crush in my BA deck, really. But just it existing helped it out my BA deck. And I'd wonder if I were to play BA again, and people know I don't play it, it may make it slightly easier for them to play against me. So I'd wonder if I'm supposed to slot in like 2 Mind Crushes just to have them in there. What I don't like about Mind Crush, however, is it requires you to have a card in hand. That way you can fulfill the downside, which means if you don't have a discard trap, or you already use a discard trap, you can't use it, right? So it's a bit risky into the whole Trishula bullshit.
What you would do is you would Mind Crush the Shurit to in response to the ritual spell, right? So they activate ritual spell, you chain Mind Crush on Shirt. They can't conduct the ritual summon, or even worse for them, they might be forced to make a ritual summon that they didn't want to make. Because, like, let's say I have, I don't know, I have like a Valkyrus in my hand that I can still summon, you know, unless Mirror was used. That's, yeah, but if you activate Cycle or Kaleidoscope and you were going to tribute the Shirt, then you can't do that. Only Mirror can banish the Shirt from the graveyard. That's the only one, right? And then again, there were ways to play around it with Nekroz, because if you didn't have Manju or Senju, like you didn't have a normal summon, something that you could do is you could set Shirt, or something you could also very often
you set Shirt over SBA, they have like a Regeki break, and you go like set Shirt, and you go Cycle, and you go chain Regeki break. It's just as bad as getting Mind Crush, though, is the problem.
Is you would act like you had Shirt in hand, right? You would, like, I don't know. Your plan was to activate Cycle. You wouldn't even plan on using Shirt, right? But because you activated Cycle, your opponent thought you had Shirt in hand, so they would Mind Crush a Shirt and you didn't have it. Or the simplest method to play around it was to get to use Nekroz Mirror, which Nekroz Mirror could banish the cost from the graveyard. So if they chain Mind Crush on Shirt, it gets discarded, but you can still banish it from the graveyard, right? And then the third thing to outplay Mind Crush as a Nekroz player was, because if you went for Kaleidoscope, the most common thing that people would do with Kaleidoscope is to activate Kaleidoscope and then send Herald of the Arclight from the extract to the graveyard to summon Nekroz of Unicorn, right? So what you could do, let's say your hand is Valkyrus and Shirt, and you have
send Star Eater for level 11
Clausulus in your hand, right? You can go Nekroz of Clausulus for Kaleidoscope, and then you could activate Kaleidoscope. And your opponent would think, well, they go for a Kaleidoscope, so they might have a Unicorn in hand, so I'm going to Mind Crush the Unicorn. But your plan from the beginning was to go Kaleidoscope, tribute Shirt. You were not even gonna.
Oh, that I was going to say you can go Star Eater. Yeah, that works.
You can still tribute Shirt. So they would Mind Crush Unicorn thinking you had it, because you went for Kaleidoscope, but you didn't have it. So, you know, there's a lot of cool interaction with Mind Crush.
And the 3-mat rank 4 access. Barrett Keyes would take the event, piloting to top 16 with Nekroz, who did not make his list public. YCS Bochum would be held 2 weeks later, and with the discovery of Stick and Chair for the deck, Shadal rose quite substantially in representation.
I don't know what happened in this event.
Interesting happenings of this particular event. Mecha Phantom Beast had cleared its way into top cut for the first time.
Wait, what the fuck?
Utilizing the new.
I don't remember this. What the hell? This deck has a top? Fucking Europe, man.
Newly released Yakuza from World Superstars to rip an opponent's hand apart on the first turn, able to make it so far primarily off the surprise factor of it. Volcanic Hero would also be a new take on the rogue level strategy, utilizing Summoner Monk to access Shadow Mist with the Dark Wall lines, while also utilizing the standard Volcanic package that had carried the strategy into the fringes of the meta. Lucas Chitoni would take the event on Nekroz, notably playing a copy of DD Warrior Lady in the main as an option to remove the Djinn block that was searchable with a semi-limited Rhoda. This would lead into the next core set, and though Secrets before it was not too impactful on the meta at large, this one would introduce a series of monsters that would change the perception of the game forever with the right amount of time.
This card was crazy.
Souls. Release date May 15th.
Just look at set. Ghost Ogre as well.
Major strategies: Frightfur, Zephyra, Inferno.
Oh, he's talking about Ghost Girls.
Girl that would shape the future. Cross Souls was the second core set of the year, and as far as core sets goes, while not ushering in a new era of the game, it did bring a couple of pieces that would shape a couple of movements in the meta over the coming years. Starting with the new archetype, Zephyra is a series of pendulum monsters that take a bunch of the dual archetypes.
I've never been a Zephyr fan.
New support pieces tied to the idea of a centralized archetype. In reality, this archetype would do next to nothing as Zephyra's, but would give a couple of their tie-in archetypes new tools to tinker with.
Zephyr saw some playability, just not at this point.
Summoned from the deck and goes to the bottom of deck when it leaves field, and Zephyr Nui, who searches a Yang Zing spell trap when summoned from deck. These two would do a number of things for Yang Zing by giving them more varied synchro access, as well as, and far more importantly, the ability to search for creation and path, boosting the deck's consistency considerably to where Yang Zing could be considered on the fringes of Rogue now, but still not properly meta. Ritual Beast would get Zephyr Ampilica, who summons a RB from grave on normal, popping it in the end phase, and Zephyr Wendy, who adds a Zephyr from face up extra deck to hand on normal.
There was also a Nekroz Pendulum monster.
Obviously, one of these was way better than the other here, with Zephyr Ampilica seeing play in RB moving forward as a
level 5 dragon.
Lastly, Oracle of Zephyr searches a Zephyr on activation and gives effects when you summon a Zephyr or a monster using Zephyrs as material from the extra deck or ritual summons. This would mostly be disregarded as Zephyr wasn't the best archetype, but an interesting condition of the card is that if you cannot perform the search, you cannot activate it, which while irrelevant now, would see an interesting application in a few years. Fluffle would get some of its first decent support in Edge of Chain, who searches a fragment card being sent to grave and searches another chain when it attacks.
Then we Ghost Ogre though and lose one turn.
Stuns
like the two biggest ones.
And reborns itself on destruction, boosting by 800, and Frightfur Fusion, a miracle fusion for Frightfurs. While still not close to meta, Fluffle support was finally heading in the right direction, which would see some experimentation later this year with more releases. Infernoid would see 3 new monsters in Pyramaze, who spins back a card without letting that card respond once per turn.
Zephyr Saber, whose only purpose was
to counter that out yet,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think there was a Nekroz Pendulum monster that could also perform a ritual summon, and I remember playing that. I think I played it at German Nationals 2015 because it would be able to summon a ritual monster under anti-spell or under Secret Village, because you could search it with Brionac, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, you could search it with Brionac and then make a ritual summon happen, even if your opponent had anti-spell or Secret Village. Literally, Nekroz was by far the most powerful deck. But like the main side quest, like basically Nekroz, you're focused on the mirror match, but your side quest is to make sure that you don't lose to random floodgates that all of the other decks were playing. Like you had to run like back row removal, and then you had to run some creative ways to out all kinds of different floodgates, because that was the only lose condition. Unironically, it was the only lose condition versus most other decks in the format, because Nekroz was so powerful. You just have to make sure you don't get anti-spelled, because on the other side, like people got really creative in how to floodgate Nekroz, right? Like in the beginning, it was only like mistake and emptiness, but then eventually it got a lot more.
Shadol YCS comes out now as well.
On attack deck, and Deviati, who nukes all spells and traps on summon except void cards and contribute a monster to negate and banish a monster using its effect. Deviati was obviously the most talked about piece here, having a similar impact to Onunku without the downside of removing her tribute fodder with her nuke effect, which in turn would cause Infernoid's playability to shoot up. Burning Abyss would see nuke using Draghig, who stacks a BA card from deck, and Barbar, who can banish up to 3 BAs engraved to burn for 300 for each. Draghig and Barbar would both see their niches in the current version of BA, with Barbar in particular filling a gap in the deck's ability to close out games over time.
Draghig was so underrated, people didn't talk about it enough, but when you had Backjack and Grave already, and you sent Draghig, you could put Fire Traveler or Traveler, the Burning Abyss, or Firelight on top of your deck and search it. Draghig was my goat.
Signing deal, able to cheat out a UA from deck by burning the user for its level times 300, and negates its effects and blocks it from being synchro or exceed material, and penalty box, making UAs able to temporarily banish anything they attack and can be banished from grave to search a UA spell. These two would both be solid for the strategy. With signing deal,
why are we even talking about UAs?
Needed, and penalty box giving the next spell searching, but without a way to reliably get it in grave, UA would continue to see zero play in the meta. Onto the one-offs. Lizard Draw would be another option for the theoretical Pendulum pile.
They'll come out in a few
months, which with attack scale and typing made it a consideration. Annoyed Tillis would be the Water Shadol fusion.
Yeah, fuck me, man. So I played the 150th YCS with Nekroz, and I did terrible this event. I'll talk about it, but it's largely because of like shit like this. Their Shadol decks would play Mistake, and they'd summon this. So now your player can summon monsters in the hand engraving spell trap effects. Like this is just designed as an anti-Nekroz card.
From hand or grave using spell traps, which couldn't be more targeted.
This card was just basically anti-Nekroz. This was the one reason why Shadol comes back into the Nekroz format, because Annoya Tillis does exactly what the name suggests. It's really annoying for Nekroz.
At Nekroz if it actively tried to be, giving Shadol an in-archetype counter. Ulti Gaia was a new RB contact fusion,
as well, yeah.
A tamer, and an RB fusion, able to banish an RB in hand to negate anything that activates. This was undoubtedly a formidable end boss, but the lack of attack out effect.
Josh and Jesse are the same person confirmed. If we were the same person, I wouldn't have been yelling at Josh about BAs being better than Nekroz the entire time.
Of resource burning to pull off, left it in a weird space.
Winda is not a problem for Nekroz at all, because you can out Winda with one special summon easy, but you couldn't beat Annoya Tillis.
Would see play. Ptolemy Ptolemaeus takes 2 or more level 4s, can
attach 3
turns into a lightning 5, and attach 7 to skip the opponent's next turn. Able to attach a Satellar Knight from extra deck to it in the end phase. Those last 2 effects I don't think anyone has ever actually read, as Ptolemaeus had 2 uses from the word go, either to be used to rank up into Pallades using 3 materials, or to access Diamond in any strategy using just 2. As such, it would see play immediately and hold its niches for a certain matchup, but would become far more...
During the end phase, attach mattered a lot, because you'd go end phase attach, so you'd play M7 and this, and then you'd go end phase effect attach M7, and then, or maybe it wasn't attach 1 Stellar Knight. Maybe it wasn't M7. It was something. You attach something off this, and then you can rank up into Diamond on their turn. That's the point, like, because it's a quick effect to attach.
Within the next year for other reasons. Galaxy Cyclone pops a set spell trap on activation and can be banished from grave to
the 80s, that's what it was, sure. Yeah, you can make plays in their turn.
Being more difficult to use, which would see some experimentation. Unexpected Die special summons a normal level 4 or lower from your deck if you control no monsters. Being talked about for synchro and exceed toolboxes, but being discarded almost immediately as there was no real benefit to running it and a regular vanilla in your deck. Lose 1 turn negates monster effects that turn their special summon and swaps them to defense mode on summon. Being so clearly
another floodgate that these deck played.
Seeing play immediately. Moon Mirror Shield makes its equipped monster boost to the attack value of whatever it battles plus 100.
On guard.
Itself to top or bottom of deck on destruction for 500 life points. This was a stun player's dream, as it made the most problematic but weak monsters in the game impossible to outrun battle, seeing play for that reason alone, but not being as powerful as you might remember in the meta at large due to various answers to it existing in the format, as well as it potentially locking its user out of the game if its recursion is used incorrectly. Melody of Awakening Dragon for the cost of a discard searches for dragons with 3,000 or more attack and 2,500 or less defense, which reads as Blue Eyes.
Because I think the year after we get Blue Eyes
support, would see considerable play in the coming year. Galaxy Eyes Full Armor Photon Dragon takes 3 level 8s or another Galaxy Eyes Succeed, can suck up materials and can attach 1 to pop a face-up card once per turn, seeing play as a tool for rampage strategies. Lastly, Ghost Ogre and Snow Rabbit could be discarded to pop any card that uses an effect after its
card fucking sucks,
specifically being useful in countering out
the path.
Field spells. While it seemed decent and fairly unassuming on the surface, Ghost Ogre would be the start of a new era in hand traps, which would, over the following years, explode in their utility as more and more Ghost Girls join the fray. YCS Columbus would be the testing grounds for these new tools, as well as the 150th YCS, held a week after Cross Souls.
Why couldn't I go to this? I don't remember. No, this wasn't Origins. This is the 150th. Never mind. It's thinking of Origins the year after. Yeah, so this tournament I won VIP for. I was super excited for. I won the VIP qualifier in Toronto. So I got 2-0 bye. I'm sitting there round 3 and I win. So I'm like sick. I'm 3-0. I'm on my way to my first top. I bubbled like 9 events in a row at this point. I'm like, It's time for my first stop. And then I play 3 consecutive stun, or like 3 different decks in a row that are not mirror matches. I'm playing Nekroz. And I just get floodgated. I'm pretty sure I played like maybe 4 cards over the course of 3 rounds. Between bricking, getting mistaken arrested, emptiness, and annoyed Tilsk, lose 1 turn, Thunder King Ryode, Secret Village. Literally every single fucking deck just had 14 floodgates in it for Nekroz. It was actually so unbearable. I got so obliterated with 3-0 to 3-3, and I said, I just can't play this deck anymore. So I switched to BA out of necessity, and then I fell in love with BA, and I realized how good it was. And I was reborn as a burning abyss man, and I saw the light. I saw the light in the hell, and I made it to Paradiso. Yeah, no, but yeah, Nekroz fucking unplayable. This format. I mean, I'm pretty sure it still did well, but you can see how much it gets cut down on Top Cut here, because there's just so many fucking floodgates. It was so crazy.
Have been seen in the meta at large outside of BA, including its new monsters and rank 4 accessible decks using Ptolemaeus. Terrence Kinsley would take the event on Nekroz, notably playing a copy of Bullblader and copies of Book of Eclipse as a way to answer the Djinn lock, which would become an option.
This I remember talking to him. I'm pretty sure this is the exact same list that Alpi and myself played the finals of German Nationals with. I'm pretty sure we gave him our list, and it's the exact same one, and he went completely undefeated. Yeah. It was a pretty good list.
He also had a problem where he bubbled a lot of events and never won, TJ. And then his first top, he went undefeated in Swiss and won.
Forward. This would also mark the beginning of the WCQ season, with the Oceania WCQ being held 2 weeks later, and similar to Columbus, the format held unchanged. Oliver Parle would take the event on Nekroz, similarly.
I wonder if that was the only time German Nationals finals was a complete mirror match, like card for card.
Playing lockouts in Warrior Lady and Eclipse. The Central America WCQ would be 2 weeks later, and though the
I truthfully don't know what happened to these ones.
Until this point, a new face would crack into top 32 here. Infernoid would finally see a premier event top, utilizing a small light to facilitate
this looks terrible. Holy shit. I guess this outs Djinn lock in defense mode.
And to set up Infernoid summons, as well as to access utility like Lila's spell trap hopping and Aaron's ability to out anything flipped by Book of Eclipse. Galileo Souza would take the event on Nekroz, being mostly standard, but notably including 3 copies of Solemn Scolding in the back row.
Yeah, this is where people started getting
so Scolding started seeing play in April.
Like playing Scolding to protect it. I remember this time period. This was very popular during the European Championships.
Thanks to Nekroz's next to no trap lineup, allowing the utility. The North American WCQ was next, held a week later.
Yay, my first stop. I'm one of these BA players. I'm one of the travelers of the Burning Abyss. So I switched to BA, and then yeah, I like comfortably made it to Top Cut. I wasn't even on the bubble. I'm pretty sure it was X1 going into day 2, or X11. Or X21 tops. I played the same person I played day 2, and again in top 64. Beat them both times. Let's go. I don't remember my top 32 match. In top 16, I played versus Jarrell Winston, and his Ritual Beast deck floodgated me. He didn't even Ritual Beast combo me. I remember game 3, I got so sad. I didn't draw any of my discard traps. I only had like random shit like Backjack, Veilers, and BAs. And he goes, summon Rampangu set 3, and he goes, Macrocosmo. He just shotguns them for no reason. Macrocosmo, Shadow, Mirror, Vanity's Emptiness. Flips up all 3, and I look him hand, and I'm like, yeah, I can't do anything. I went past and I died. That was very depressing. Very depressing. So I lost there. Obviously so close to Worlds. Did I deserve it? I mean, deserve is always a strong word, but no, that was my first stop, and I got more confidence, and that helps you step up, right? So after that, I didn't have the same issue with bubbling anymore. So now we're getting into my era. Yes, no longer little kid. I was 15 at this point, though. If you guys want to see, we'll let him talk about the event, and then we'll talk about my deck list, I guess.
Again, it's the same story as usual, with the only outlier being a single hero list that squeaked into top 64, utilizing the newly released Assault Halberd as a rank 4 extension,
as well as
Goblin Bird to special summon Shadow Mist for the search. Noah Green would take the event on Burning Abyss, utilizing both the new.
Yes, I think he played way too few discard traps, but yeah.
Rule of thumb, I've never seen a format in Yu-Gi-Oh's history where Mind Crush is being main decked. That was bad. Whenever Mind Crush is being main decked, the format is good. There's no you cannot convince me otherwise.
I don't know if
I'll probably equals good format.
I haven't thought about it.
Virus Errata, as well as cards like Karma Cut, Phoenix Swing, and Raigeki.
2025? No, 24.
Opponent's turn. As we cross into July for the year, a new Shonen Jump promo would begin its distribution, being Frankfurt Tiger, a fusion of sabers and.
Okay, so I can show you guys my list. Want to see baby Jesse, 15-year-old Jesse?
World Championship qualifier, top 16.
I'm actually curious what I sounded like back then.
So
I was so proud of my prize card.
One Firefly, one Rubik, triple Seer, triple Graph, triple
I love these cards so much.
Because when you draw a lot of monsters, it really doesn't do anything. The best ones, the only ones you really want to draw are these 9 and I guess the tour guide. Everything else just sucks to draw by itself.
Yeah, I didn't play Barbar because I felt it was garbage.
And even if you draw 2 of them, that's kind of mad to go Dante, because if you don't mill anything good off the Dante, it's awful. Because often it's really easy to out, and you want to draw traps all the time, so it was worth just playing more traps. The only thing that's kind of worth playing is Barbar, but I didn't.
Yes, I still talk fast. Maybe a little bit better, but it's still bad. I still have that deck? No, I do not, unfortunately.
Triple Backjack and Triple Veiler. I play a lot of discard outlets, so Backjack's really good. It's almost always just like fine to draw it, as long as you don't draw multiples.
I still talk the same. Yeah, I need to slow down. It's kind of bad.
It makes being griefing a lot better, because if you already use your BAs, you can send in and search another trap.
I mean, I was 15. Like, yeah, my voice is higher.
It's really good card. And Triple Veiler, because I felt like my only deck's weakness were Decree and Denko. Denko was much more likely to see game 1, so I played it. And also,
but I'll show you, there's not really floodgates in here.
That's for the monster, just 19. The spells, Book Foolish. I don't like Regeki because I play so many 1-1 removals in my traps, and for Farfa, and like I make big monsters. I didn't find that destroying things was necessary. I would rather have more traps to attack the monsters. For the traps, Triple Fiend Griefing.
Oh, Fiend Griefing's my love. The card is awesome.
You can send Backjack to get another trap and then disrupt the play. You can send Wrath, Scarms, or Sears to create combo plays like Foolish. It really does everything. Also, the clutch to like shuffle things back in, like when they try to cycle back to Trish or mirror Trish. It's really good. They discard Ellis, Triple Wing Blast, Triple Karma Cut, and 2 Regeki Breaks. I played 8 discard Ellis.
I think I swapped this for this the next time.
Easily so you don't get trished. And also clears cards like Brio and Unicorn, which are the biggest problems for the deck when facing Nekroz. If I dealt with those, often they just run out of resources really fast and lose. The 1-1 removal basically.
And people weren't playing enough of these. These were the best cards in the deck for sure.
I never like just kill somebody fast. It's just stole every single deck out. Most matches I went to like just stalling them out, and they had no plays left in the deck, and I had a Dante and they scooped because eventually I win. And then for the rest of the traps, you break through skills because it's a good card to mill, and it's not like just window and Shekinaga, other cool things. Also like.
What was the prize card? Ascension Sky Dragon.
For the one of traps, Crush card, Warning,
oh man, Crush card.
Ring, Potential Skill Drain. And no emptiness because I didn't think it was that good in the deck.
It was my only floodgate. There you go.
Seer, and I discarded, and I have emptiness on the board. My Graph and Seer won't trigger, so I'm like that about it. It made me go neg all the time, and I lose my engine. And I have so few monsters, I couldn't afford to give up them and not get anything out of it. And also, like, I need to have a board, and I felt like if I had a board in any other trap, it was just as good. Also, I didn't play Mind Crush because I didn't think it was amazing. Everyone plays around it. And they don't play around these for some reason, but they're much harder to play around. Mind Crush is easier to play around against a good player. And also, when you require have cards in hand, and if I didn't have a discard outlets to get rid of it, I can get Trish.
Dude, no Mind Crush.
So sometimes you get more plus out of the Mind Crush, but it wasn't worth it to me. So it's 19 traps.
19 traps, guys.
A lot of defense.
It's fun. People say I'm a combo player, but this is my first stop. The trap deck.
Virgil. I want to play one Rubik, so I only ever need a 1. Never regretted that. Triple Dante, Triple Downer, Standard. At 0, which is great. Never summoned it, but it's really good. Astigol, which is greater than Scale Drain, and before they have Unicorn. Alucard, Nightmare Shark, which I never went into. Zen Mains, never went into. Anganir, which is amazing. And
this card is good. Play around stuff. You can put Farfan or Alec under it, and you get to negate something. And this is for XYZ Universe.
For XYZ Universe, Norito is basically Xian. You can attach 1 during that player's turn, so you get a spell chop and destroy it. And it's both 27. This one's rank 6, one's rank 5.
Side deck?
Yeah. So, triple Majesty Fiends, and double Defusions. That kind of is like for rolls. And like Majesty Fiends also gives us other things. Like Nekroz, it's okay against. I don't like siding in 3 versus them because sometimes it's not the best. Some people are aware of it and they side outs to it. But yeah, it's really good.
Majesty Fiends just came out as well, right? I think. No, it hadn't. It was the year prior, I think.
Oh, right.
Actually, yeah.
2 MSTs and 2 Gas Cyclones. 1 Cyclone's not there because it's my friend, so I have to go back. I played 2 and 2 rather than 3 MST and 1 Cyclone just because I felt like if I milled the Cyclone, it would get me much farther ahead.
Which is terrible logic, by the way. I should have just played a better ratio. I was still not, like, still lots to improve at this point.
Both were super strong, and I think 2 and 2 worked very well. There was no time where I drew one and wished was the other. But milling Cyclone was really strong. And it won me a game where I was able to Cyclone Soul Drain. And then I played Triple Mistake for Nekroz. Like, I don't understand why players decide not to use this. You can't use Skarm, but like, if they don't have an out to this, they actually just lose. There's nothing they can do. Like with all your traps,
I mean, yeah.
They like 3 to drop
I still side them. Like, what do you want me to do, man?
You just
card is broken as
Nekroz.
Nekroz.
It's not hard. Just get rid of it. And then after that, they run out of all the cards. Yeah, for the mirror match, Triple XYZ Universe. This card is the nuts. Literally just every single game in the mirror match.
Let Floodgate hate go? But like, I didn't need to main it. That's my point. You didn't need it. Yeah, and that's the deck. What else did I talk about at this point?
I was about to lose, you can draw this and just win. Like a Diamond, which shuts off their Dantes and then 1 Dark Effect. And Norito, just, if they have a lot of back row. And Norito, if they have like a Downer and a Dante, or Diamond if they have 2 Dantes. Like, 1 game in Swiss, I won because I had 2 of my own Dantes. I just swung and used it like an El Shaddol to make his thing and swing for game. I beat a guy top 64, so he opened up triple Dante. and I discarded a backjack, stacked it, used it on 2 of his guys, dropped an Orido, and then OTK'd him. He threw 3 Dantes. The same guy I played in Swiss, I did it to him again. I dropped the diamond, discarded everything he had, left him with 1 card in hand, and that was over. The card is ridiculous. Like, the only other thing that you could consider playing is because
the nuts is a wonderful expression we should use more. Oh man,
more
yeah.
versatility than a Jom Trio. And that's it.
This is old time rules, yeah.
So I tried not to play Fire Lakes or Maxis, main deck or side deck. I didn't play Maxi because like the only thing I ever used against is the mirror match. And I guess Tellers, I wasn't worried about Tellers, it's a really easy matchup. Nekroz is already in my favor, I find, unless they have their own floodgates like Denko and Decree, and I don't have the outs to them. And Maxi also like fills my hand, so like I can get trished afterwards, and I find it's not what I want. Because I'm only maxing for 1 when they drop trish, I'm losing 2 cards. I'd rather just not have that.
Maxi bad? I know, I can't believe there's no Maxi anywhere in my deck list, guys. Kind of crazy.
It's awful versus everything, except like Tellers, Ritual Beasts, and Klee. And Klee, like my deck, I have a decent matchup versus them without the Fire Lakes.
Yeah, my deck for Toronto, like a month later, that I got 3rd at, went undefeated in Swiss. I did play Fire Lake and Traveler in with Drag Hig.
Tell Knights and Ritual Beasts. I think there'll be too many Ritual Beasts, and if I go first and I have decent hands, I can win. Versus Ritual Beasts and like Tell Knights again. It's not easy. It's not hard to beat. It's so easy.
That's everything?
Yeah, that's everything.
Awesome. I like how you end up with.
Yay! Yeah, so that was my first top. All right, I'm done. I'm done now. Go back to this.
Monster, able to pop cards on field, on summon, up to the materials.
Explain. I mean, it's because the other format that I'm thinking of is 2018 Sky Striker format, where I Trickstar, Sky Striker, and Sky Striker.
We're talking about Mind Crush being healthy
until it eventually got ruined by Goki. But in that format, I main decked Mind Crush at German Nationals as well. And the reason why I think it was a good format, or why Mind Crush in the main deck makes it a good format, is because Mind Crush is inherently a relatively slow card with that plays a lot with information and does nothing to the board state, right? So a format where you can afford to play a card like that, where like knowledge about the hand matters and the long game matters, and like Mind Crush literally, for example, in the Sky Striker format was good enough to main deck because going second, it was still really good. Because, for example, the Sky Striker mirror match with Shizuku for Engage. So you could Mind Crush that Engage, and that was really important. Or the Trickstar matchup would summon a Candina, and then add that Candina back to the hand with Licorice. And so you could Mind Crush their follow-up. And it was a really important interaction in this format. Whereas it was like, and just the idea of, I'm going second, my opponent plays, because there wasn't that many hand traps, and I can just do my stuff and then set a Mind Crush, and that out of all things is actually a good card to have in that situation.
Are we back to normal playback speed? I think this is also 1.25. Yeah.
Think of it right now. Think of it
he
from
doesn't
today's
talk as
perspective.
fast
Like your
as me.
opponent goes Snake Eye combo and you set a Mind Crush. Like compare those situations, right? And you know what
power
I mean.
creep though as well though.
Right? You understand how different the dynamic of the format needs to be for you to be able to play Mind Crush when you're going second, for example, right? The ruling change for Mind Crush is not that important in my opinion.
It does matter, but it would not have changed whether Mind Crush is viable or not.
We don't play Mind Crush as much anymore. I think the reason why we don't play Mind Crush as much anymore is because the dynamic in the game has changed by so much, right? Because we simply are not in a format anymore where you do that. It's definitely the reason why. It is definitely not the reason why. Mind Crush would be in no decks right now with the new ruling, with the old ruling. Like you wouldn't play Mind Crush. It's simply the game is too fast, and the fact that it does not, yeah. I will very much disagree. I mean, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with disagreeing, but I don't think you would.
I think Josh
is
right
now.
Boosting Fight First by 300 for each.
It's a pretty shit trap.
There's no way out of all the trap cards that we have in the game, you would ever like to have Mind Crush the most in the current dynamic of the game. There's just no way.
Able to be one on field at a time. This was absolutely the best fusion they had received so far, giving Fluffles an actual boss monster worth summoning that took the same materials as Wolf, meaning that you could set up for an OTK using the two in combination, seeing experimentation at a rogue level with this release. After that detour, the European WCQ was a week after NA, and once again, no real surprises, seeing a similar spread to the NA WCQ. Edo Marcus would take the event on Shadal, being the strongest performance the deck had had the entire year, utilizing the monster Peril Cerberus to access Shekinnaga and give removal afterwards, also dumpable with Mathematician. Lastly, for the WCQ season, the South American WCQ would be held the same day, and, stop me if you've heard this one before, we'd see the same spread of decks in the top cut, with Gerardo, DeGaldo, though, taking the event on Nekroz utilizing the Bull Blader option as well as the Solemn Scolding package. With the WCQ season done and in the books, a new ban list would take effect on July 16th, and this would actually mark a significant change in how the ban list was updated, as now it would no longer be standardly the first of the month like it had almost always had been before. This meant that the ban list now had a little more unpredictability to them, which would only grow in the coming years. Newly banned were Djinn, Releaser of Rituals, and Laval Chain, putting an official end to the Djinn lock, which by this point players were absolutely sick of. Newly limited were Shurit, being one of the best options for Nekroz thanks to its search, and Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, returning from the banned section. Newly semi-limited were Atlantean Dragoons and Dragon Ravine, both returning from 1, and newly unlimited were Darkstrike Fighter, Glow Up Bulb, Sinister Serpent, Sacred Sword of 7 Stars, Temple of the Kings,
Bulb
and
was
Exchange
sick.
of the Spirit.
Didn't matter at the moment, but it was cool.
With the only hits being targeted at
I was already
exclusively
unbanned,
Nekroz,
I think,
Konami
right?
was making it clear that they knew the issues with the deck prior to the WCQ season and were now taking steps to correct it, which would bring the deck more in line with other strategies of the era, but by no means take it out of Tier 1 contention.
I mean, I think this is where peak Nekroz format begins, right?
This was
Because,
awesome. Yeah, the clowns
a
come out
couple
as
of
well.
things change
Norden
here.
comes out. This is
Notably,
great.
the whole Djinn lock is gone, but there's a lot of other things like the fact that Shurit got limited. I actually think does a lot of good things for the Nekroz mirror match because the resource management with Shurit is like really important. Like being able to you have to decide when do I banish it. When do I banish my Djinn from the graveyard with mirror? Because then it's gone. It's not gone forever. We'll talk about that in a moment. But like it's gone for a while. It's not that easy to get it back from banished as it is to get it back from the graveyard. Because from graveyard you can just get it back with Unicorn, add it back to hand, and then use it. But the decision on when to get rid of your one Shurit to banish it, because you had to go through some extra steps to add it back from banish.
Yeah, Exa, right? Or is it
the next
say
set
one of
releasing
those
the
two?
next day.
This is
And with
Time
its
Wizard
previous
material.
iteration
I would agree. I would tend to agree. This if I was to replay any Nekroz format, it would be this upcoming one. This is
I
peak
agree. I think it was the best.
Nekroz gameplay. I think.
I wonder if he's counting
game,
Norden with
many
that,
expected
or if he's
something
just
similar
counting
to happen this
clowns or
time,
none of it.
but
Hey, what is this set?
Oh, this was garbage. Dragon's Legend 2.
Release date July
What happened
17,
in this set?
2015.
Nothing,
Set
this was
type,
fucking
import set.
useless.
Major strategies, Critias and Hermos, Tune, Prediction Princess.
Oh, nothing
Impact,
happened. Okay.
Nothing happened. Yeah. Major strategies, Critias and Hermos. How to tell me a set is irrelevant.
Nothing. Okay.
Dragons of Legend 2 had massive shoes to fill, as the last set brought the Hands and Soul Charge, which fundamentally changed the meta. So what did this edition bring? Unfortunately, this edition brought
What
nothing but
is a
actual
good
relevance to the game,
fool?
including a new block of support for Red Eyes, as well as new strategies in Critias, Hermos, and Aqua Actress, all of which did jack in the meta. Only two strategies here we're talking about.
Aqua
that would be
Actress is so bad. Oh my god. I remember it was a challenge for me to win locals with that deck. Like, I got my cousin who played Yu-Gi-Oh! At the time challenged me. He's like, I bet you can't win locals with Aqua Actress. I probably tried for like 6 locals in a row to try win with Aqua Actress. The deck is so fucking horrible. I could not get it. Like, I topped a couple times. Actually, just insane that I got that far. Of course, I never won with it. Fucking useless deck. Holy shit, that deck was terrible. Aqua Actress. Oh my god.
Prediction Princess and Tunes. So let's
I
start
mean,
with Prediction Princess.
worth talking about is the biggest stretch I've ever heard.
Hero Tribe would be their boss monster, a ritual that could special summon a flip monster from grave in your end phase face down and could flip a monster up or down on a quick effect once per turn. This would be considered interesting, but overall lacked anything worth flipping for the time being relegated to the bulk pile.
Could I win with it
Tunes was the
now?
strategy that brought in the
No!
most attention.
Maybe it's a challenge for locals. If you guys want to see me show up to locals with Aqua Actress, you know what to do. Like, subscribe, leave a comment down below.
Mainly thanks to its new field spell, Toon Kingdom, which effectively was Toon World with targeting protection and battle destruction prevention for your tunes, giving the strategy more actual sticking power.
Yeah, I agree. This has to be. I didn't even remember this set. This has to be one of the worst sets ever. In like measuring just meta impact.
Outside of the common threat of an MST to the book. They also received Comic Hand, being an
There's
in-strategy
nothing.
version of Snatch Steal, making its target a Toon and able to attack directly, and Mimicat, able to steal anything from the opponent's grave to use for yourself. While interesting for sure, Toon still saw no relevant play from this due to still having the same problem of the entire deck dying to a copy of MST, which Kingdom did not solve. This left the game with no real shakeup, leaving any new developments to the next core set releasing a month later.
This set was good. Cold Core.
That does shake up.
Flash
Cosmos!
Rebellion. Release date August 7th, 2015. Set type.
There's
Major
Decatron, alright.
strategies
Good
for
set.
4 Mage, Ignite, Cosmo. Impact, the core.
Cons
set
are
and
awesome as
multiple
well.
sets. I'm probably going to get a bit of flack on this one, but I truly do believe that core should be regarded as one of the greatest core sets of all time. This singular set would introduce
it's
new
good.
engines, power cards, and archetypes that would completely define the course of the next year of Yu-Gi-Oh! And sadly, I believe it gets lost in the shuffle a little bit due to it coming between Duelist Alliance, which is regularly referred to as the set that completely changed Yu-Gi-Oh!, which is valid, and a set in early 2017 that once again changed the game forever, which we'll get to. Regardless, this is one of those sets that introduced so much that
It is a
shaped
very
the
big
game
set. Yeah, there's a lot of impactful sets though in this era, but yeah, this set is crazy.
Give those parts the time that they deserve.
I do think it is definitely worse than Ghost Lines. So why is he talking about this? I'm with Josh.
Nothing in common with it. Yay! Black Flare Dragon.
Crazy way to start off the video.
Battle phase at battles. Black Stone of Legend contribute itself to summon a level 7 or lower red eyes from deck. It can recur itself from grave to hand by shuffling back a red eyes in grave. Black Metal Dragon equips itself from hand onto a red eyes and boosts by 600 and searches a red eyes from set field to grave. Archfiend of Lightning is a Gemini that can nuke anything with a defense lower than its attack.
He's mentioning a Gemini.
Dragon is a fusion of an Archfiend and a Red Eyes normal that stuns effects while attacking and burns at the end of the battle phase. It attacks for the attack of a Red Eyes Engrave, shuffling it back into deck. Flare Metal is a rank 7 that has an effect destruction immunity, burns the opponent for 500 for using any card or effect, and can attach to revive a normal Red Eyes. Cards with the Redstone pitches a Red Eyes from hand to draw 2 and dump 1 from deck to grave. And Red Eyes Fusion lets you fusion summon a monster that uses Red Eyes as
YCS Charleston this year, I pulled a Ghost for Red Eyes, Flare Metal in my packs.
Red Eyes as an archetype did nothing of note.
Entry
Flare Metal would see play as a generic 7 burn option, and Fusion would be the first of 3 spells in the set that could fuse using materials in the deck. With all 3 of these finding meta relevance at one point in the game's history due to that effect being universal.
It's Ostinato, Red Eyes Fusion. What's the third one?
Possible, though Red Eyes Fusion's relevance wouldn't be for a handful of years. Ignite was a series of normal Pendulum monsters that all share the effect of both scaled ignites to search a Fire Warrior monster from deck or grave, with 2 level 3s in Squire and Crusader, 2 level 4s in Templar and Paladin, a level 5 in Margrave, and a level 6 in Gallant, as well as a field spell in Ignition Phoenix, which boosts all ignites by 300 and lets you pop an ignite card to search an ignite card once per turn. Ignite had some real applications.
The Infernoid one's this set. I thought that was. Oh, it is this set. Imagination is this set. Damn, crazy.
Monsters to search scales, then set scales and bring them all back to exceed material. But this came with the downside of once you make it exceed with them, they're mostly gone for good by ending up in the grave, which led to it being mostly unpopular. However, there was one other piece that was tangentially related that was.
Listen, Josh and I are the same in a lot of regards, but like you can clearly tell from this video we have differences in our perspective on the Burning Abyss.
That obvious flaw.
I am a disciple of Dante, and I practice the dark arts of hell, and he practices the rituals of the Nekroz, the ice barrier stealing tribe thing. I don't even know the lore behind those.
Summon a Draco Slayer monster and could pop your other scale to search another copy of that card once per turn while in the scale. This enabled Ignites to access Ignis or Prominence, a level 8 Pendulum lock synchro that could summon a Draco Slayer from deck.
These were cool and totally became very toxic. Although I think these cards are sick, they became kind of egregious in the next few months.
Per turn and pop a Pendulum monster or scale you control to spin another card on field back to deck without targeting. Ignis or Prominence.
I think the Pendulum deck in about December, at this part of the point of the year, is actually really cool. And then the Perform Mage cards all like get released, and Perform Ball Sorcerer and Ariadne and Cyberdragon Infinity, and then this kind of just went to dog shit. But it was very cool before that, I think.
And Luster Pendulum would over the coming months take their positions as the poster boys for what became known.
It's funny how we're going from, I just now realizing that, how we're going from one of the best formats of all time, which is going to be Clash of Rebellion Nekroz format, into like we're getting Breakers of Shadows soon, right? Which is one of the most troll despair formats at the time.
It only lasted 3 weeks though, but yeah.
Pile deck, which at this stage was starting to take form, but wouldn't become an actual presence in the meta until the next core set. Infernoid would see its 3rd wave of support here in Decatron, who was the first normal summonable Infernoid, able to.
Oh, Bosch is the first of 2016. Okay, I misremembered.
Dump an Infernoid on summon to gain its level, name, and effects. Tierra, a fusion of a Nunku, Deviati, and any number of other Infernoids that gains effects for the number used to fuse her, ripping both players' extra decks for 3/3, milling both players 3/5, returning 3 banish cards for each player to deck for 8, and ripping both players' hand apart completely for 10. And Void Imagination, a continuous spell that makes all Infernoids level 1, cuts Infernoid battle damage in half, and if the opponent controls an extra deck summon monster, lets you fusion summon an Infernoid using up to 6 materials from deck in addition to hand and field by sending itself to grave. Put bluntly,
I forgot about this.
Incredible for Infernoid, giving them.
I said his Docs. Docs was not that crazy, but
and a way to get multiple monsters on the board with a Nunku, plugging the deck's primary flaw. Tierra and the fusion effect of Imagination were usually just seen as a way to set up the grave for Infernoid pushes, not necessarily for the actual benefit of the fusion summon, but they would see play as well. The Perform Mages would see their introduction here, a series of spellcasters aimed at manipulating life points by their effects to generate a
These cards were sick,
damage juggler can be discarded to negate and destroy a card that deals effect
I
damage.
still love them.
Can be discarded to block the next battle damage you take that turn, and can be banished from grave to search for a Perform Mage. Hat Trigger can special summon itself if there are 2 or more monsters on the field, can gain a Perform Mage counter to block effect damage dealt to yourself, and its attack and defense become 3300 when it reaches 3 counters. Trick Clown can summon a Perform Mage from grave when sent to grave, setting its attack.
Have y'all ever a 3300 attack Hat Trigger? Because I have.
The user for 1000, and Trapeze Magician is a spellcaster locked rank 4 that blocks all damage less
than Trapeze was kind of annoying,
but that card is turn, but it blows up in the end of the battle phase, and if destroyed, special summons a Perform Mage from deck. While unassuming on the surface, Perform Mages would become an engine that would shape the next year of.
It's not Ostinato in the set. Ostinato's next challengers, right? Or Docs. It's Brilliant Fusion in this set. Why did I say Ostinato? Unless Ostinato's also in this set. Ostinato was Thunder Dragon set. Okay, it was Soul Fusion? Yeah, it was Brilliant Fusion in this set. Oh my god, I love Brilliant Fusion.
Of the game, as the advantage you generate solely off of Trick Clown would be
enough to consider them useful. It's such a snow!
Damage Juggler and the easy summon ability of Hat Trigger led the engine to see substantial play, especially near the end of the year with another discovery from this same set. We also received 2 new DCG exclusive archetypes that take the reins from BA and UA, which would be present for the next 4 core sets. The first of these was Cosmo, a series of low-level psychics and high-level machines loosely based on.
I wish these cards were better. They were like,
with the psychics.
I tried them on release. I loved this deck, but like it was just bad. Even with Dark Destroyer, I feel like if players played against it properly, that kind of sucked. It's also easy to side deck for. So I never like played it for big events, but I think this was a mistake to play
themselves to summon a higher
No,
level Cosmo
one.
on a quick effect,
Like
and the
an event.
machines all sharing an effect to banish themselves from Grave on Destruction to special summon a lower level Cosmo from deck. Farm Girl could pay 500 upon dealing battle damage to search a Cosmo card, Good Witch could pay 500 to flip a monster face down, Slip Rider pops a spell trap on summon, and Forerunner has targeting protection and gives its controller 1,000 life points back in their standby phase. Lastly, Cosmo Town was their field spell, able to add a banished Cosmo to hand by paying life for its level times 100, can shuffle any number of Cosmo monsters in hand to deck that draw that many, and if destroyed by card effect, searches a Cosmo card. While not as explosive out the gate as Burning Abyss had been, Cosmo was clearly going to be a powerhouse in future metas with this initial wave of support, bringing emergency teleport back to the forefront of player consciousness thanks to Farm Girl being a valid summon target with it, and Forerunner being a super easy to summon boss monster that was actually shockingly difficult to out with its targeting protection. That targeting protection, though, would see a new way to out it through the other new TCG exclusive archetype in Kaijus, a series of high power monsters that can be summoned to your field by tributing a monster they control, and to your field if the opponent controls a Kaiju, with each having an additional effect revolving around Kaiju counters. Dogoron can remove 3 counters to nuke your opponent's monsters.
No one
Humongous
actually
can
reads
remove
the
2
effects of the
counters to negate
Kaijus, let's
effect
be
of a newly
real.
summoned monster and block it from attacking that turn, and Kyoto Waterfront gains counters anytime a card is sent from field to grave, tapping out at 5, and can
That
search a
does make
Kaiju
me
once per
feel
turn
old.
to
I
set
thought
3 or more
Kaijus were like
counters, able to remove
2017.
a counter to prevent effect destruction. While next to no one
Does
would use
make
the
you
field spell
feel
or actual
old.
Kaiju focused
We're
deck,
new, we're
Humongous
old.
would see play out the gate for being able to tribute over
No,
an
no,
opponent's
he's not. I
monster
remember using
Colorado
Kaijus in
without
Pendulum
eating your
decks.
normal summon that turn, giving players an option to out towers like bosses, specifically using Humongous because it was the weaker of the two to give the opponent sitting at 2400 attack. Moving into the one-offs, Magical Abductor gets a counter whenever a spell is
this card's
activated while
cool.
on field or in scale, able to remove 3 to search a Pendulum monster while in scale, or a level 1 spellcaster while on field. Archfiend Eccentric
Troll
can pop itself
Mockingbird.
in scale,
I
pop
love
another
Archfiend
spell trap on
Eccentric.
field, or tribute itself on field to pop another monster. Both of these cards would see experimentation in the aforementioned Pendulum pile, with Eccentric seeing general play as well for being effectively an MST that could also double as monster removal where needed. Retaliating
MST
can
or
special
Exile
summon
Force.
itself if your opponent activates a spell that can special summon a monster, banishing any card sent to grave while summoned this way.
This card was
and
cool.
searches
I
the
love this
first
card.
insect on being sent to grave. While it's clear this was meant as a counter to strategies like Nekroz and Shadal, retaliating would also be extremely notable at the time for searching Max C when removed. Wavering Eyes pops all pen scales, then provides effects based on how many you pop.
Oh,
with one burning
Wavering
hit
Eyes. This shit was ridiculous in oh man, in Pepe like a couple months later. Oh right, because this was actually a TCG exclusive or an NA exclusive before this, right? So we'd play this in our Clifford decks, but I'm pretty sure the Europeans didn't have it yet, so they couldn't play it. It wasn't NA exclusive. I thought it was. Europe didn't have Diamond Crab King. I could have sworn this was an exclusive. Maybe I'm misremembering.
2 searching for any
This
Pendulum monster.
card, this card was so cringe in Pendulum Mirrors. Oh my god, dude.
3 banishing a card on field, and 4 searching another copy of Wavering Eyes. This was
Oh
clearly meant
my
as a counter to
God.
Pendulums as they became more and more powerful, but in actuality, it just acted as a way for Pendulum strategies to get an Ignite-style search-off, which would become even more powerful if you matched into a Pendulum strategy yourself. Chicken Game blocked whichever player is losing from taking damage, allowing both players on their turn to pay 1,000 to
Oh yeah, I
use
forgot
one
Chicken
of
Game's
its
in
effects,
this
being a
set.
draw 1, give the opponent 1,000 life, or popping that card. Obviously, the primary usage of this card was a pseudo-reverse Upstart Goblin, paying 1,000 life points to draw a card, but this would become one of the most degenerate FTK enablers ever, as the previously released field spell Pseudo-Space could be placed over it after using the draw effect to then banish it from grave, pay 1,000, and draw again. Because of this, Chicken Game FTK became a known threat in the format, being utilized with either a match
I wouldn't really call it a
Infill
threat,
or
but
Exodia, which was made
yes,
worse by
people
cards like Hope for
played
Escape and Terraforming, enabling the strategy to insane
I'm pretty sure this also topped the next European YCS. I don't know if we're gonna bring it up, but I'm pretty sure someone topped with that deck at like I want to say YCS Rimini or Prague or whatever that year.
degrees. Storming Mirror Force would be the first in a new series of elemental retrains of the classic Battle Trap, bouncing all attack position monsters to hand when attacked into. While this wouldn't see play for now, it would set the trend for the next year of new Mirror Force variants coming out with wildly different conditions and effects that would each find their own homes in the game. Lastly, and probably one of the biggest sleeper hits of the set, Gem Knight would receive 2 new cards of note. Lady Brilliant Diamond is a fusion of any 3 Gem Knights that can send a Gem Knight from field to grave to summon another from extra deck, ignoring its summoning conditions. This enabled all sorts of FBKs with Lady Lapis Lazuli and Master Diamond, but for the time being was too inconsistent to do anything noteworthy. The far more impactful piece of this support here was Brilliant Fusion, a fusion from deck spell for Gem Knights that had no restrictions on when it could fuse, but dropped the monster it summoned to 0/0, able to discard a spell to boost that monster
Very
back to
good
normal
card.
stats for the
Yeah.
turn. While
Love this
incredibly
card.
unassuming for the time, Brilliant Fusion would actually be one of the most powerful setup tools ever conceived for the time, as by playing a copy of Gem Knight Garnet, you could use it to send the Garnet in any light to make Seraphonite, who in turn provided an additional normal summon as well as dumping of whatever light you wanted. The go-to light of the era was undoubtedly Perform Age Trick Clown, as by dumping it with Brilliant, Trick Clown could then revive itself immediately, giving the
Yeah,
user 2
5 and a
monsters
4.
and an additional normal summon to work with off of the one Brilliant Fusion, which would become more and more popular in the coming
was
months,
so
but was
cool. I
not
love
immediately
this.
discovered on release. This would also lead to the community coining the term
Garnet was a
for
card. Yeah, I see. The thing is, you guys are saying that, and I think the crazy part is I believe you guys that you did not know where the term garnet comes from, but this is what it is. The term when someone calls a brick a garnet.
Wait, people don't know that? People didn't know this is where Garnet came from? There's no way. Josh's chat has to be like trolling right now. Guy in my chat, you guys knew what Garnet meant, right? I don't see anybody like saying no. Wait, nope. No, there's no way. You guys had no idea where Garnet came from, and no one dared to ask what the fuck Garnet meant. What's a Gem Knight? Mental.
A card you don't want to draw. This is because this is where it's from. Because people were forced to play garnet to fit Brilliant Fusion in their deck, and that's why it's called this.
You played in deck for an engine but did not want to draw, named for the Gemnite Garnet you'd play, as Brilliant Fusion had to specifically send its materials from deck to grave. The World Championship for 2015 would be held a week later on August 15th, 2015, and an extremely important note here is that the World's winner from 2014, Sahabi Karandine of Canada, would not be allowed to participate despite his World's title due to a cheating suspension that was in effect at the time, seeing his spot for the tournament filled by the runner-up of last year's Worlds, Hayama Shinsuke of Japan. Once again, due to the combined format, a number of strategies were left in an unplayable state going into Worlds. Burning Abyss was still a TCG exclusive, leaving it out of the tournament completely, while Shadal had taken many hits in the OCG with the banning of Construct and the limiting of Shadal Fusion, leaving the deck heavily suboptimal for play here. Of the publicly available top 8 lists, Hero would be a notable standout, seeing top 8, utilizing
Mystic Tomato
slim down metagame to access Shadowmist for Guard Wall, with a suite of revival traps to make the setup even easier. Nekroz would make it all the way to second place here despite the additional hits of a limited Unicorn and a semi-limited cycle, utilizing more of the non-ritual Nekroz line than ever before,
Alright,
Exile and Great
Caster.
Sorcerer, even going so far as to utilize the hands once again to fill out the control core of the deck.
So this was basically super neuter Nekroz because of how the World's format works, where like everything is the 2 banlists combined. Sometimes it results in like super low power formats. So this is like, this is not even like this Nekroz deck just makes me sad. 1 Brionac, 1 Unicorn, 1 Shurit is just massive hits to the deck. 1 prep, 1 Rhoda. It plays Gold Sarcophagus. It's like, but it, I mean, it's World's format was wild sometimes.
Like Exa and Great Sorcerer.
Was Manju at 2? Why are there 2 Manjus and 3 Senjus? I don't remember Manju being a 2 in the OCG. Was it a 2 in the OCG? That's so random, right? You didn't know who Gores was? Oh my god, that's crazy. The OCG limited Manju? That's ridiculous. There's Gale Dagura in the side deck.
Despite how he qualified the event, Hayama Shinsuke of Japan would take this year's World Championship title using Tellarknight, the one duelist alliance.
This is the one setting where I would say Tellarknight may have been the best deck. There was maybe still a way to like beat it. Maybe there was a better deck. I didn't play this World Championship, so I never got super deep into the format. But I'm seeing all the hits to Nekroz, and like, I don't know, maybe this deck was better.
Yeah, I have to agree.
Substantial hits, utilizing its almost standard game plan at this stage to consistently control game.
Ritual Beast was crazy, but no one wanted to play Ritual Beast. That might be true, actually.
Oh, actually, yeah. No, Herman's right. Ritual Beast has to be the best deck here, right? Ritual Beast is for sure the best deck. Yeah, Ritual Beast is for sure the best deck. What the fuck?
Was there a hit to Ritual Beast already? Is Canahawk already limited at
No.
this point?
And earned this year's title of World Champion.
No?
This would lead into the next
yeah,
structured
then unironically, it may have been Ritual Beast.
deck of the year a week later. And with the world substantially shocked by Teller's performance on the world stage, many hope for something to help bolster a new meta strategy.
Oh, this is relevant.
Wait, what is this?
The structure deck.
Oh, the
Synchron
starter deck?
Extreme. Release date, August 28th, 2015. Set type, Structure Deck. Major strategies, Synchron. Impact, new Synchro tools, nothing else. Synchron Extreme was a structure deck of all time for sure, as while it didn't bring anything to really affect the short term, it did bring one tool that would affect the game in the long run in Jet Synchron. A level 1 tuner that searches a junk monster when sent to grave for a Synchro summon, and can revive itself by discarding a card and banishes itself when it leaves the field. Jet may have been a little bit ahead of its time, as for now it wouldn't be too useful, but a self-reviving tuner a la Gub would be greatly appreciated with the right amount of time passing. YCS Toronto would be held the same weekend, and with it there came a new format vibe in the air. It was the first testing grounds of Core, the first YCS of the new season, and with it would mark the changing over of the YCS
I've heard of this
once
one.
again. And for those still reeling from the stint of Giant Hand a few years ago, it was about to get so
Minerva?
much worse. Minerva the Exalted Lightsworn can detach one to
So Lightsworn was my first ever like meta deck, and I won the Minerva getting 3rd. I was so happy. I played so many Minerva decks at regionals and stuff because it was just like one thing to play Minerva. I still have it. If you go watch the video, I have 2 Minervas that I won this season, so I have both of them. But my dad, you can literally see in the one in my video. What's it called? My dad returned to Yu-Gi-Oh. He starts damaging my what's it called, my Minerva, and that's my Minerva, and he's talking to them. I see him, he's just like holding it like this. I don't know where it is. It's gonna be in a second. I have to tell him, dude, it's still a prize card, like chill, like put it, like stop holding it like that. He just keeps his decks boxed. Where is it? The part where he has it like looking all stupid. Maybe it's not this part of the video. I know at some point he just holds it really bad, and I was getting like cringe at some point in there. I don't want to waste time anymore on it, but yeah.
3. Drawing cards equal to the Lightsworn's milled this way.
Does my dad like Chaos Ruler? I don't think he knows what that
is. Lightsworn's milled. This card was, to put bluntly, one of the best milling tools we've seen.
This was not a great decision.
Then I went an Ultra Minerva, and now I only won 2 supers.
and full Vol chain. Being a rank 4 meant that it was so generically accessible and boosted multiple strategies in the format from Shaddoll to Infernoid to countless rogue options, and the fact that she was a prize card stirred up quite the storm. Because of her status as a prize card while also being legal in the format, copies of Minerva that you could potentially win at a YCS were going for upwards of $1,000 a copy in her prime, being the first time in a long time a
which would have been
prize
so much more in modern Yu-Gi-Oh as well, but the market wasn't as crazy back then.
Super rare. That's not the ultra rares. That's super rares. And unironically, this is not going to matter that much in 2015, but in 2016, like Minerva Lightsworn, I think would actually be a top tier meta threat if more people were able to play it. Like it was a genuinely really good deck during like ABC format, I think. But like it just like only very few people were able to play it.
Worth nearly that much outside of specifically a World's Prize card. With all of that preamble out of the way, how did the meta for the YCS shake out? For the most part, the meta held despite the new releases, but a couple of clear shifts had made themselves known immediately. For starters, the Perform Mages were running rampant. Over half of the Nekroz list and most of everything that wasn't specifically named Burning Abyss were playing the clowns.
This is so sick, man. No Djinn, no outs to Djinn, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you just focus on your engine.
Nekroz and clowns.
And the results here were clear that Perform Mage was an engine that was here to stay, providing rank 4s and tribute bodies left and right. Yang Zing would see its first ever premier top here, utilizing the new Zephyr Yang Zings from
Ryan
Chow, extra searching power for their creation line, giving the strategy far more consistency than before.
Masquerade kind of ruined the mirror. Yeah, the Masquerade OTK was a way to play through Valkyries. I think if the format wasn't that long though, right? I think if it had more time, you can probably find ways around it.
Infernoid would quickly adapt to running Decatron, but would take some time before the realization of power that was imagination, but given time would adjust. Cosmo would be the big shock here, scoring a top cut appearance in its first ever outing. The primary ability it was showcasing at this stage is the ability to access any part of the core through a combination of Slip Rider and Cosmo Town. Because Cosmo Town searches on any card destruction effect, including your own, it would be common practice to use Town's recursion.
You're playing Chimera Tech for Cosmo, I sided Chimera Tech as well.
To do it all again since it lacked a hard once return clause. This combined with Forerunner being shockingly difficult to out allowed the deck to see decent success for its first rodeo, and left many players looking to the deck for future outings. Gabriel, Oris, and Wine would take the event on Burning Abyss, utilizing a newer tech in the deck being Absolute King Backjack as a way to combo with Drag Egg, able to stack a Burning
You were already
Abyss
playing
card,
that, but this was the one that people weren't playing. Yes, for the mirror.
Set up those Fire Lake and the Traveler lines to absolutely blow out the opponent. YCS Rimney would be held the same day, and we'd see similar results in terms of.
I think this is peak Nekroz format. I think this is what I would go back to.
I feel like Rimney was the same day,
which I probably will at some point.
Perform Mage presence, with Perform Mages finding their way into most of the non-BA builds in the top 32, including the winning Nekroz list piloted by Lorenzo Sattoni. YCS Monterey would be the following week, and we'd see similar results to the other YCSs in this block, even with the backjack build of BA once again taking the event piloted by Alan Guzman. The year's Megatins would drop a week later, and to say that the anticipation was palpable would be an understatement. Norden of the current meta. Archetypes seeing reprints here included Artifact, Bujin, Burning Abyss, Fluffle, Infernoid, Clifford, Shaddoll, Sylvan, Tellarknight, Traptrix, and Yang Zings to name a few. Needless to say, this would bring down the price of everything in the meta not named Nekroz, but there was also a new particular card here brought in for the promo slots that absolutely needs to be talked about. Elder Entity Norden is a fusion of two single level 4 lower on summon. Let's be blunt, at this point in time, you're never fusion summoning this card the correct way. You are absolutely using this with instant fusion, and as such, Norden provides a get out of jail free card to every rank 4 focused deck by turning instant fusion into a 1-card rank 4 with its revive, leading the card to see stable play in any rank 4 focused deck for the foreseeable future. This would lead nicely into the next set 2 weeks later that was poised to.
You would still probably play that shit in modern Yu-Gi-Oh! If you could. Instant Fusion's at 1, but like, so maybe you wouldn't play it because of too much extra deck space, but if you had the space to play it, you would. If Instant Fusion was at 3, like, that card's really good.
Take another crack at the deck building set formula.
Norden had like different effects on the format. On the one hand, it made like OTKing with Masquerade through Valk easier. On the other hand, it also made outing specific floodgates a lot easier. Like Mistake, for example, you could like easily instant fusion into a Diamond Direwolf. So it's like it has pros and cons, I think, to the format.
High Speed Riders. Release date, October 2nd, 2015.
Yeah, this wasn't an all-foil set,
Major
though.
strategies, Speedroid, Resonator, Ciphering. Impact, new engines to tinker with. High Speed Riders would be the second crack at the concept of a deck build set.
Gamma!
Types to the table to drop massive waves of support for, with 2 being brand new and 1 being new support for a legacy archetype. The legacy archetype in question was Resonator, the building blocks of Jack Atlas's Red Dragon Archfiend strategy, seeing new tools like Red Resonator, who summons a level 4 lower from hand on normal, or
that's totally what people use this card for.
Special, but none of their pieces would convert strategy into anything worth playing.
I didn't want to say anything, but he made the remark.
The first of 2 new archetypes, a series of wind machines aimed at swarming, level modulation, and accessing a variety of synchros in their toolbox like Kendama, Shanbara, and the previously released Clear Wing Synchro Dragon. However, most of these pieces were lackluster and clunky, save for 2 specifically. Speedroid Terratop can special summon itself if you have no
I love these cards as well.
Summon, and Takken Tombor can special summon itself if you control a wind and contribute itself to special summon a Speedroid tuner from deck. These 2 would form the basics of a rank 3 engine for strategies at the time, thanks to Terratop searching Takken Tombor for the immediate free summon, giving you rank 3 material without committing to the normal summon, seeing play mostly in decks like Burning Abyss as now a free access to Dante. The last archetype here was Ciphering, a series of psychic gears that
this is the one thing about this here that I don't really like. besides like Djinn. The fact that there's a lot of engines coming out, I'm just noticing that seems to be a trend in 2015. There's a lot of engines added to the game that require you to run bricks, right? This is like, I'm sure there's previous examples, but this year seems packed.
Why? Because of the
with
Siphons and Brilliant Fusion?
of, we're going to make really powerful cards that require you to play
I like both
really
Brilliant
mediocre
Fusion
cards
and Terror
next to them,
Top
right? Like,
and
we
Siphon,
saw,
though.
Brilliant Fusion with Garnet. We now saw Driver with Gamma, and also the Terror Top Taketomborg, right? This was a sort of dynamic. I was never a fan of this. Even at the time, I hated playing with those cards. I sometimes did play decks with the Brilliant Fusion or Taketomborg or whatever. I hated it. I really, really hated it. In terms of that design philosophy, right?
Themselves in response to an opponent's action if you control no monsters, as well as the vanilla Cyframe Driver, banishing both in the end phase. These included Alpha, who responded to a summon and searched a Cyframe card on summon, Beta, who responded to an attack, popping the monster and ending the battle phase, Gamma, who responds to monster effects, negating it and destroying the monster, Delta, with the same effect but for spells, and Epsilon, with the same effect but for traps. Their field spell Circuit allowed you to immediately sync or summon using the summon materials regardless of turn, with the primary targets being Zeta, a level 7.
It's so much better when every card is a starter and an extender like now. I didn't say that. That's not what I said.
Who can banish itself and an opponent's attack position special summon monster.
This set actually is really cool. I love the Siphon cards
Omega,
and the Speaker cards.
Can
They were
banish
cool.
itself and a card in the opponent's hand. Can return a banished card to
This was awesome in my Mizuki Minerva deck.
Phase and can return itself and another card from grave back to deck.
It mattered more next year when Dark Illusion brought
the only one that would see any
Assault
success in the short term
Snow,
would be
but
Omega,
yeah.
being a generic 8 with the ability to hand rip, though some experimentation would be seen with the gears as hand traps, specifically in the case of Gamma, though this would go nowhere for the time being. YCS Dallas would be held that same weekend, and a surprising new face would be seen among the decks in the top cut, being Clown Blade, a combination of a popular Performage engine with various rank 4 enablers, such as Assault Halberd and Thousand Blades, with Thousand Blades specifically being interesting as its Grave Revive effect can trigger off the summon of Trick Clown. The other interesting card here would be Gigabyte, seeing its first real playability thanks to Performages all being spellcasters, which in turn rose the usage of the rank 4 King of the Feral Imps, which would only rise further and further in usage as rank 4 toolbox decks fully take over. Eric Christensen would take the event on Infernoid, notably going completely undefeated throughout the event with an impressive 16-0 tear, utilizing the newly released Omega for its hand rip, as well as its ability to remove levels from the board for further Infernoid summons. This would lead us into the last core set of the year, and if it was anything like core before it, it was sure to bring a shake up to the meta as we knew it.
Oh no.
This one wasn't good yet.
Oh, no.
Kieran. Fuck Kieran.
2015. Set type, core set. Major strategies, DD, Magispector, Cosmo. Impact, the guillotine to the current meta. Dimension of Chaos would be the last core set of the year, and with its new archetypes and continued support of themes introduced back in core, a couple of new meta threats would rise from this particular set to redefine the meta at large. DD is an archetype of fiends aimed at utilizing fusions, synchros, and exceeds through their various tools and Dark Contract continuous cards, which we've actually seen a couple of times before, but this would be their first major wave of support that would make the strategy playable. Swirl Slime can fuse a DDD using itself and any other material in hand and can be banished from grave.
People play DDD a little bit.
Nekroz Slime can fuse a DDD
next
by banishing
year
itself
after
and any
this,
other
but it
material
wasn't
from
very
grave.
good.
Savant Kepler searches a Dark Contract or bounces another DD card to hand on
These were
summon.
cool at the
Oblivion
time.
King Abyss Ragnarok summons a DD
Even
from
though they
grave on
never-
summon and contribute another
felt
DD
like
to
they
banish
never
an
got
opponent's
meta
monster. And
relevancy
then the
at
Scale
the
can
time,
summon a
but they
DD
were
from
pretty
grave when you special summon another DD, burning yourself for 1,000 when you do. Wave King Caesar can detach at the end of the battle phase to summon back as many destroyed monsters as you can, but burns yourself for 1,000 for each in the next standby phase, searching a Dark Contract when sent to grave. Wave Oblivion King Caesar
This is the
Ragnarok
bad
without the
Caesar.
DD or Dark Contract on attack
The only
deck to steal
complaint I have with DDD is the naming. Like, come on, man.
an opponent's monster and equip it to himself, boosting by its attack. Duo Dawn King Kaliuka can stun all other cards on field for the turn on summon.
Yeah,
Attach
the only problem I have with the DDD is this card. This card. Big red flag. Red flag.
and traps, and can detach to set a Dark Contract from grave. Dark Contracts are all continuous cards with similar conditions of providing an effect once per turn and burning the controller for 1,000 in the user's standby phase. Gate lets you search a DD, Swamp King lets you fusion summon a fiend using hand or field, and can also use grave if the monster being summoned is a DD, and Witch lets
It has nothing to do with the length of the names. It's just the fact that it's so confusing. I can never remember which one is which. Like, because they all have so similar long-ass names. And one of them is like Wave High King Oblivion Caesar. The other one is just Wave King Caesar. The other one is High King Caesar. Then there's Wave High King Oblivion whatever Caesar. Like, it's just
DD
like,
or Dark
annoying.
Contract from hand to grave to pop a card on field and boost all fiends by 1,000 on the opponent's turn. DD would look interesting from this wave, but unfortunately was missing quite a lot of its important support to do anything relevant for the time being.
Wave Oblivion King Caesar Ragnarok.
As the remainder of their critical support were still locked in the OCG as exclusives needing to be imported. So the deck's viability was going to live or die by how soon
Yeah,
we'd
you
see
should make a DDD deck, top with it, and then name it Caesar Salad. That'd be funny.
those pieces. Reformage would actually see a couple of new pieces of Pendulum support.
He's
Here,
real
Conductor
good.
can swap a monster's attack and defense and take 500, or if in scale, drop a special summon monster's
Luster
attack
as
or
well.
defense to the lower of the two.
This
And
deck was so
Flushfire,
much
if
fun.
destroyed, floats
The
into another
Pendulum deck
Reformage
before,
and in scale can summon itself if your Reformage
Um,
is
Raid,
you take
we
500
stream
damage.
before
These two were
Bosch.
seemingly harmless additions to the lineup at first, but a realization hit with Flushfire specifically. If it was, say, destroyed in the Pendulum scale, it would be a monster again in the extra deck where it ended up. This means that by popping Flushfire in the scale with something like Luster Pendulum or Wavering Eyes, it would still trigger its float effect. And
Yeah.
with that, Pendulum's now
Look at how innocent and cute it looks. But yet it's so broken.
had full unrestricted access to the Performages in a way no other deck did. This would heavily increase the interest in the aforementioned Pendulum pile, now slowly gaining the name of the two archetypes it most utilized, those being of Performages and Performapals, nicknamed to Pepe for short. It seemed that with Every new release, some new Pendulum cards would be added to the pile to make Pepe stronger and stronger, which actually segues really nicely into Magispector was a new archetype of spellcaster Pendulum.
Boo! Boo! I don't like this deck. Kieran is not fun.
Effect destruction immunity and having no pendulum scale effects despite being a pendulum archetype, with most having an effect on summon, with Nekomata searching any Magispector card in the end phase, Bunboku.
There's something so odd. Am I the only one? But there's something so odd about seeing a pendulum monster with the empty box.
It does feel weird, yeah.
I feel like it's really weird.
Searching a monster, Yada searching a spell, and QB searching a trap. Kieran would be the boss of the archetype, able to bounce a pendulum monster and an opponent's monster to hand on quick effect, though notably was a level 6 in a pendulum archetype where the scales capped out at 5. Their spell trap line primarily involved tributing a wind spellcaster to activate an effect, with Storm spinning a monster to deck, Cyclone popping a monster,
that one's fine.
banishing a
That one's
monster,
good.
and Tempest negating a special
okay.
summon or monster effect, destroying it. Lastly, Majesty's Pegasus was the deck's field spell, boosting all Magispectors by 300
okay.
and letting you tribute a wind spellcaster to summon a Magispector from deck. The fact that the entire archetype had targeting protection on top of Kieran being an absolute annoyance would lead them to see meta playability not just in their own pure variants, but also as additional pieces to Pepe, thanks to Bunboku and Kieran together forming a self-contained package of monsters. Similarly to Ignite though, they also had an extra deck monster that tied the archetype into the Draco Slayer lore, being Magister Paladin the Ascending Draco Slayer, a rank 4 that searches any pendulum monster in the end phase after being exceed summoned, and can detach to summon a Draco Slayer.
This card is probably the worst one out of all of them.
In combination with Ignister Prominence and instantly becoming a staple piece of Pepe thanks to being a rank 4. Speaking of Ignite would also receive a couple more pieces here in Cavalier and Veteran, finishing out their sets of level 5s and 6s, as well as Reload, which shuffle back any number of pendulum monsters in hand to draw that many +1, with Reload seeing not only play in Ignites, but experimentation in different pendulum piles. Gradle was a new archetype aimed at stealing opponent's monsters, with most of their main deck monsters equipping to and stealing an opponent's monster when destroyed in battle, or by monster effect for Eagle, spell effect for Alligator, or trap effect for Cobra. Slime could summon itself from hand or grave by popping 2 Gradle cards, summoning a Gradle from grave when you do, providing easy access to their Synchro Boss Gradle Dragon, able to pop cards up with Synchro materials on summon, floating into another monster in grave on destruction. Lastly, Impact lets you pop a Gradle card in an opponent's card, and searches a Gradle in each end phase, only able to use one of those effects in a turn. Gradle, while seemingly clunky, actually held some interesting applications thanks primarily to the Kaijus from Core, able to tribute over a monster, then steal the Kaiju with
Gradle Kaiju is a cool deck actually.
Speaking of, Kaiju would receive now the weakest Kaiju at 2200 attack, making it the new go-to counter option for outing unoutable bosses, and that would become even more
common too, they're cheap.
Cosmo support. Strawman had the standard pilot tag out and could pay 500 to summon a banished Cosmo with its effects negated, destroying it in the end phase. Wicked Witch had the standard pilot tag out and could pay 1000 to prevent herself from being destroyed that turn on a quick effect, and Dark Destroyer had the standard ship float effect, targeting protection, and pop the monster on summon. These three would take the already tier 3 Cosmo strategy and rocket it up to tier 1, as Dark Destroyer was an absolute house of a card, with the only real way to out it being that of the Kaijus, as popping it would just let it float into another ship or pilot.
I mean, we haven't had a ban list that removes Nekroz yet, right? So it would be easy to out this with Trishula. I think Cosmo becomes a problem once we talk about the ban list.
So Nekroz won the event here, even though Cosmo won the event and Nekroz was legal. People were playing Light and Darkness Dragon and Cosmo, which made no sense. But Cosmo still won. It's just because you summon Dark Destroyer, and when you don't have a card in hand, they can't trish you. So you can't target it. So it became very hard to out. Cosmos still were kind of a pain to deal with, for sure, even if they weren't as good. Nekroz is still meta though.
Your scales are full, being a decent inclusion in Pepe as it geared up. Fluffle Wings allows you to convert a toy vendor into pure value, drawing a card and popping the vendor, which in turn gets you another search. In the same vein, Frightfur Sabretooth is a fusion of any Frightfur fusion and one or more Fluffle or Edge Imps, summons a Frightfur from grave on fusion summon, boosts Frightfurs by 400, and has destruction immunity if made with 3 or more material. Sabretooth would be seen as effectively a freebie fusion using Tiger, since you could just revive them after, allowing you to either make a large-bodied board between their attack buffs or potentially clear the Tiger off the board for another Tiger summon. Vector Pendulum the Drake Overlord could negate the effects of the opponent's pendulum scales while in scale, being a decent option for the pendulum pile, but still lacked a solid reason to run it.
You needed it for the quick play spell.
Choice of effects from power spells that are currently banned, be it Pot of Greed's Draw 2, Giant Grenade, Spell Trap Bounce, Raigeki's Monster Wipe, or Forceful Sentry's Hand Spin Back. Obviously, this was too.
We need to look at San Jose format being the first Dimension of Chaos YCS and the last YCS before the Necroz. Oh!
Clunky
so there's one event,
but was experimented with for rogue level play with the previously mentioned prediction
without a new ban list.
As Pyrotry could use it as a ritual material, then bring it back in the end phase, able to flip it up and down repeatedly. Odd Eyes Fusion summons a dragon using monsters you control, or if has 2 or more monsters than you, Odd Eyes monsters from the extra deck. This would facilitate the new boss of Vortex Dragon, a fusion of an Odd Eyes and a Pendulum monster that bounces a monster on summon and has an Omni Negate at the cost of returning a Pendulum from the extra to deck. This would be solid for some Pendulum piles to include thanks primarily to Odd Eyes Rebellion Dragon, which 2 copies of it in the extra deck can be used to fully meet the fusion requirements since Odd Eyes Fusion doesn't specify face up extra deck, seeing some experimentation. Starlight Red Dragon Archene's name becomes the original RDA on field and engraved, and nuke all other special summoned monsters with equal or less attack to it to burn the opponent for 500 for each. This would become a quick inclusion in the ever-growing lineup of good level 8 synchros, primarily as a way to close out games effectively. Painful Decision lets you dump a level 4 or lower normal to search another copy of the same monster. While fairly basic on paper, at this stage the only deck that could even remotely consider using it was Ignite, though it would see relevance within the next year. Lastly, Grand Horn of Heaven can negate an inherent special summon in the opponent's
this card is neat, but it's not crazy as well.
To end that phase. This would see some serious experimentation as a blowout option when going first, as forcing the opponent to effectively skip their main phase 1 can prove detrimental in terms of breaking a board, as you lose your battle phase to go into main phase 2 to finish up. YCS San Jose would be the same weekend, and Cosmo
Cosmo kind of stuck off, which is really surprising.
Top dog, taking the main slice of the top cut and the event itself, piloted by Jesse Samick.
This is interesting. I would think Nekroz would do fine against this deck.
The addition of Dark Destroyer and Strawman to the deck had changed the dynamic substantially, as now you could do combos with the deck by utilizing Dark
Like,
Destroyer's
I'm looking at it now. I'm looking at this list, and I'm like, why does Nekroz struggle here?
to cycle your ships in the battle phase for further damage pushes, or to break the opponent's board, while Strawman's ability to access a temporary beater body that then floats into more power proved extremely useful. Reasoning had found another home here too, as almost every ship in Pilot was a different level, giving no ideal call outside of 8 to prevent a free Dark Destroyer drop. Magispector would also clear into top 16 here, utilizing the other Pendulum tools like Luster Pendulum and Arcane Eccentric to take full advantage of the Magispector lines. In addition to Moon Mirror Shield being quite useful as the targeting and effect destruction protections on the Magispector lines, it made the smaller bodies incredibly difficult to out without something like a Kaiju, which always felt like a waste on the small Pendulum bodies. This would be the precursor to the next ban list update just 3 days later, and with it would come down the blade on almost everything that had been meta in the past year. Newly banned were Towers, Construct, Exciton, and Shuret, all of which had been pivotal pieces of the decks that had dominated the game for a
This
while.
is what I meant.
Newly limited were Graph as a hit to BA, Mathematician and All Fusion as hits to Chanel, Nekroz and Bryonic and Unicore, and Rhoda all as hits
They
to
destroyed Nekroz.
and Ulticanahawk as a hit to Ritual Beast, all of which were massive nerfs in their own
murder.
rights. Newly semied, and the only card here, would be Seer, as another hit to BA. Lastly, unlimited were Chaos Sorcerer, Djinn, Spellbook of Fate, and Gear, seemingly a wave of cleanup to the decks of yesteryear at this point. Shaddoll, Clifford, Ritual Beast, and Nekroz all suffered killing blows, losing almost their entire identity in one fell swoop, while Burning Abyss, though it did take hits, didn't suffer nearly as much as the others. This would also spawn a meme in the community around Dante, as it seemed that the BA poster child, unlike the faces of the other meta strategies, was banlist immune in the TCG. Obviously, this would set the stage for a changing of the guard in a sense, and most expected Cosmo to move into the dominant position moving forward, which would be all but confirmed at YCS Sao Paulo 3 weeks later, where Cosmo would take a solid 9 of the top 16, including first place piloted by Alejandro Suarez, marking the
I've never played Cosmo at an event, I think. Actually, I played Fire King Cosmo in 2016.
Oh, never mind. I didn't play that either.
16. I've played, Fire King Cosmo.
player's second YCS win and third major event win. This would be the first major event top of Pepe as well, but unfortunately we do not have a deck list to analyze for this particular event. Though Pepe was about to become much more potent in the meta, as the last structure deck of the year was just a week away, and it would provide a preview of the coming attractions that Pendulum had in store for 2016.
Hot Eyes absolute
the magician
dragon.
structure, the Skull Crobat and stuff. Yeah.
Master of Pendulum. Release date.
Oh, this is that time. I remember now why I didn't play Cosmo at the time at a big event. Most likely, it's because they had a YCS in Europe that got cancelled.
Oh, this was the terrorist one in France.
Or was that early 2016? I think there was supposed to be a YCS in France that got cancelled around the time. YCS Lille, I think. Yeah.
Wait, 4th, we're going back to Lille.
Yeah, I remember we hosted a replacement event with CCG in Lille. Yeah.
Structure deck. Major strategies.
Well, like not me. I was part of CCG, but I didn't host shit. I didn't do shit. I just went there and played. But
Pal, Odd Eyes, Pendulum Magician. Impact, the precursor to the Clown Show. Master of Pendulum would be the final set of the year, and with it would come one of the biggest.
I remember everyone changed their Facebook profiles to the French flag. I forgot about that.
3 archetypes. So let's go at it one at a time. Perform Pal support would be the least in
time fly. I think so much for the sub. Appreciate it.
I thought that Jesse was
on normal,
cooked.
searches Perform Pal, Pendulum Magician, or Odd Eyes Monster, becoming an instant staple for the deck thanks to accessing any of the 3 engines on command. Odd Eyes would receive a new field spell in Sky Iris.
Yeah, these were all very good cards. So I actually really liked this iteration of the deck. Before the broken stuff in Bosch came out, the Pendulum deck was Skull Crobat, no monkey bar though. What is it called? Monkey board. But you had Plush Fire. You played Brilliant Fusion in the deck. Your boards weren't as broken. You played a lot more mid range game, and you can do cool stuff. And Ignition Pendulum is still broken. Oh, I thought that deck was super cool. That's probably like my favorite Pendulum deck, maybe, besides Metal Foes. That deck is sick.
Being targeted and lets you pop a card to search for an Odd Eyes once per turn, and 2 new extra deck bosses in Meteor Burst, who specials a pen scale on summon and locks the opponent's monster effects in the battle phase, and Absolute, who can detach to negate an attack and summon an Odd Eyes from hand or grave, and if sent to grave after being Exceed summons an Odd Eyes from extra deck ignoring its summoning conditions, with Sky Iris finding a home instantly, and Absolute taking one of those Odd Eyes fusion slots thanks to also being a cheat out if needed. Lastly, the Pendulum Magician archetype would see a serious facelift. Dragon Pit and Pulse were normal pendulums that could discard a pendulum to pop a spell trap for Pit or a monster for Pulse. Oath Dragon could return a Magician or Odd Eyes from face up extra to hand once per turn. Wisdom Eye could pop itself in scale to set any other Magician into scale from deck.
I just lost my phone. I don't know why I put it.
Let you search for any 2 Magician pendulums, locking your pen scales from being destroyed by card effect until the opponent's next.
Card's overrated.
This was an incredible
build
for the rapidly rising Pepe, seeing a variant known as Pepe Magicians rise into the meta off of this wave, which I would say we'd see at the last YCS of the year in Lyle, but there was an unexpected issue. Due to devastating attacks in Paris coupled with civil unrest, YCS Lyle would sadly be cancelled, leaving us now at the end of 2015 Yu-Gi-Oh! But what a massive year it was. We had seen the rise and fall of new Tier 0, as well as the changing of the guard in terms of meta threats. And with
Nekroz, what was Nekroz's lifespan? It
was not that long, right?
It felt longer than it actually was, I feel like. It was like 6 months.
It's February to October, right? It's like 8 months, but it was diminished every single like few months. I think like because it was really dominant, then less dominant, then less dominant, then less dominant, then less dominant, and then by the end of it, when it got banned, it wasn't even like the top threat anymore, right? Like you could argue it was phased out of top potential. So yeah, but that's the thing. A lot of things look like that in history, right? Like how long was tier format? It wasn't that long. People kind of I I mean, it was fair. It was long enough, but it wasn't like crazy long either.
But it was like, it was very much different shapes of Nekroz. Like, it was definitely a different feeling. It's split in like 2 phases, right? It's like Djinn Nekroz and no Djinn Nekroz. So yeah.
Recent support, finally, we were seeing pendulums come into their own as a mechanic, but this was about to hit the fan. With the beginning of 2016 on the horizon, the clowns were about to get more and more powerful, and with it, we'd see an approach Konami would take that we've never seen before.
Emergency ban list, emergency ban list, emergency ban list.
All right.
A huge.
And that's 2015, everybody. Shoutouts to the Law YGO, very enjoyable as always. The link to the channel.
Repeating that, we will do the same thing. Make sure you guys go check out the Law YGO and Josh Schmitz. We are leeching both their contents. And if you're enjoying the Reactception and you're watching this on YouTube, then let me know, and we'll do more of them for all the other future recaps. I'm going to link these all in my Twitch chat right now. We'll also have them in the description on YouTube. Also, if you're watching on YouTube and you're still here, please sub, because I have like less than 5,000 subs in my highlight channel for some reason. And I have over 50K on my main channel. So yeah, please sub to my highlight channel. But let's sub. You know, if you want to see more from the future of the reacts and the labbing when a set comes out, etc. Anyways, as for the stream, I think that's gonna be it for today.